Good morning, degenerates. Good afternoon. Good evening, degenerates, whatever the heck time of day it is where you happen to be watching this video. Thank you so much for tuning in here to Pub Sports Radio. This is the Monday Valentine's Day edition of the Die Hard MMA podcast. And I'll be honest with you guys, I had a little something planned today. I was going to light some candles. I was going to wear a nice button-up shirt. I was going to rock a tie. I was going to treat this bad boy like a date. And then I got my ass absolutely handed to me over the weekend. So instead of running out shopping and having a shtick for you here on Monday, I worked my ass off studying these fights over the weekend to bring you a damn good show. What we've got going on is a angry, unhappy, motivated host of the Die Hard MMA podcast, because as you all know, I am your favorite degenerate gambler. I never claimed to be the best bettor under the sun, but I also damn sure have some pride in myself, and I should not be the worst gambler that you know. So coming off of a massive -9 unit night over the weekend, on a night where the favorites just landslide rolled through everything, everybody and their mom parlayed the shit out of that card and made all the money in the world. Your boy gave up a whole bunch on some spots that I just shouldn't have, and I've got to face the music. As I've always told you guys, honesty, transparency. I'm always going to tell you where I'm putting on my money. And I went down with the ship this weekend. So here I am. The show must go on. Let's go ahead and face the music. I got wiped, and it's not going to happen again. I'm going to be working my ass off. Thankfully, this is just February, so we've got a lot of calendar ahead of us to right the ship, fix the problem. Oh, but my ass still hurts. Still not sure what the number on that bus was. So thank you all so much for stepping into the show with me tonight. We've already got 58 live viewers chilling with us. I appreciate you all for leaving your significant others out to dry. And I do have a gift for you for Valentine's Day. For a special thank you, I decided to bring along a friend. And you may know my guy, Dan Levy from Half the Battle, joining me to talk tonight. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, happy Valentine's Day, Clint. You know, it's funny because we scheduled this, a couple months in advance. We have a tradition. Every Jamahal Hill fight week, I'm going to do the show with you. But it happened to be on Valentine's Day. So it was babe, it's Jamahal Hill fight week. I understand it's Valentine's Day, but I got to do Clint's show. She'll totally understand, right? So, the Persian cuisine had to be kind of like an early dinner type deal. And then afterwards, no time for sticking around. And man, I'm just happy to be here. And as far as what you were, talking about earlier, oh man, you had a losing night. Oh, that must be the end of the world. Actually, the way I look at it is you live to tell about it. And now we move on to Saturday. I mean, isn't this a long-term game? I mean, we're in month 2 of 12. Losing nights are going to happen, dude. Winning nights are also going to happen. I mean, so just it's part of the process. Let's move on.
Yep. We just got to roll with it, man, for sure. And I'm always trying to, win or learn. And that's where this weekend I made some poor choices. I made some bad decisions, and doing my best to learn from those mistakes as opposed to just, recreating them the next week. So gonna be trying to tweak the system and move forward. And yeah, we got time to right the ship. It'll be all good. So thank you.
It will be. Believe it, young man.
I do. You know what, man? And I've told everybody watching this show, like I said, I've never claimed to be the best gambler under the sun or anything, but since I started the podcast and started taking my MMA seriously, I am positive 2 out of 3 years, and overall, gambling on the UFC. So I know I can do it. It's just a matter of working my ass off and getting it done. And I do like a good challenge. So we're digging ourselves out of a hole these next couple of weeks.
Well, you got a good challenge on this card, I'll tell you that much. So,
oh my God, dude. I said that. I've said this to a couple of people, a couple of our, friendly Twitterverse cappers, that I'm like, dude, coming off of a week like this, I love dumpster diving. I love finding that value on the cards that nobody else can see. It's sketchy as hell, and I'll take that shot, but this card sucks. We're going to break the whole thing down. And honestly, it should be fine from an entertainment perspective. There's a lot of good matchups. It should be entertaining. But from a gambling perspective, man, not to give it all away before we start the show, but this is a hard week from a betting angle.
Listen, I mean, if you just walk away with 1 or 2 spots you like and they both cash, that's a winning night. I mean, we don't have to sit here and bet every fight on the card and all these unknowns. I mean, some of our favorite prospects are actually on this card, and we got to take full advantage. So, you know, skip all the stuff we don't know nothing about and get down to where we feel like we have an edge.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And that's something I should have done last week. So, you know, without further ado, let's go ahead and bust into this thing, man. We got a card to talk about. People got dinners to get to. And my boys Brady and Wheezy are going to be doing their show right after ours tonight on Monday night, since the Super Bowl was yesterday. So people got MMA action out the wazoo to talk about. Let's go. Johnny Walker taking on Jamahal Hill for your main event. You know, this was supposed to be Rafael Dos Anjos that got, you know, booted out a week or two, visa issues from what I'm understanding. But honestly, this is a fight that I love in the main event slot, man. I like both these two guys. Everybody was all hyped up on Jamahal Hill and Johnny Walker. The Walker hype train got derailed a couple times, and here we are talking about Hill as being the true contender out of the two of them. People didn't realize last time out that he was the man, and we got a nice number on him, but those days are long gone. Now Jamahal Hill's a -250, -300 favorite here against Walker. And man, we know what Jamahal Hill does, right? Like he fights like a lightweight up at 205. The way this man moves, the speed, the combos, the pressure, the boxing, he is a solid prospect. I love everything he does in there. And then he's got the scrambles, you know. I know he got caught on the ground. You know, Bear Jew does that to people, but this man absolutely has an underrated grappling game. People don't quite understand. They haven't seen it enough yet to really believe, but it's there. He's not going to need to worry about that against Johnny Walker. You know, I don't know what to make of Johnny Walker at this point, Dan. You know, he was super exciting, explosive, spinning stuff, knocking people out left and right. I totally get you got to dial it back a little bit after you get rocked and dropped the way he did a couple times, but he was a shell of himself the last time out. SBG Ireland just ruined the best prospect in the 205 division, made him not even a point fighter like that. I don't know what that Thiago Santos fight was, man. And the advice they gave him between corners, I remember thinking to myself, I was just so confused. Like when he came out for that 5th round, the fight is hanging in the balance, and they told him to keep feinting. It's like, no, hit him. Like, don't feint. That doesn't win. That doesn't score. You need to actually go out there and cut loose and win this fight if you want to take home a victory. And they told him to just keep feinting, keep feinting. I mean, I really am honestly at a loss right now for what's going on with Johnny Walker. What are your thoughts on this fight, man?
Well, firstly, since you just brought up that fight, everybody make sure just bet Anheliger against Thiago Santos, because it wasn't just Johnny Walker that looked bad in that fight. Yes. That fight was a sign that these two guys, well, firstly, Thiago Santos, I mean, you know that in the John Jones fight, like I think he tore his ACL or some big-ass injury, both of them or whatever. So he's never going to be the same vicious Thiago Santos, the guy that, you know, had all those knockouts. So don't expect that guy to come back. So take advantage of Anheliger. I'm sure he's a big favorite, but I'm just saying, don't take the dog shot on Thiago Santos there. And listen, I mean, here's the thing with Walker. I mean, you're talking about how he went to SBG, dude. That's not the only camp. I mean, for you know, his fights on his win streak, he was with his coaches in Brazil. Then the Corey Anderson fight, all of a sudden he's with Faraz Zahabi, loses that fight. Now he goes to John Kavanagh. I mean, I think the guy is just, I don't know what's going through his head. And it sucks because when he first came to the UFC, I mean, those knockouts were so dynamic. They were so vicious. They were so violent. And I actually thought, and I was dead wrong about this, but I actually thought that he could be the guy to give John Jones a tough fight. Like I had never seen a guy that was 6'6" at 205 that had the athletic traits he had. I mean, I'm sure if you want to test his vertical jump, I'm sure it's fucking up there, right? But we never really saw what happens when he gets extended. We never really saw what happens when he gets cracked. I mean, we saw stuff on the regional scene in that one fight where he got knocked out like 3 times in one fight and this and that. But I kind of thought he was like that I kind of thought that stuff was like behind them, but it turns out it wasn't the case, man. And, you know, sometimes you're just wrong about these prospects. And I was wrong about Johnny Walker, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still a dangerous guy. I mean, if Jamahal Hill thinks this is some kind of joke, if Jamahal Hill fights with his hands down and his chin up and doesn't take this guy seriously, I mean, Johnny Walker can still land a flying knee. Johnny Walker can still land a big head kick, a big elbow from the clinch. The last time Johnny Walker fought a southpaw, you know, Jamahal Hill is a southpaw. The last time he fought a southpaw was actually against Khalil Rountree, and you remember exactly what he did to him. Now, I think that Jamahal Hill brings something completely different to the table, and it's almost ad nauseum when I talk about him at this point because, I mean, I bring up the same points, and it's like I've never seen a guy at 205. He's 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, so he's already got the size. Because you remember when John Jones was the champ, he was so much bigger than everybody, right? Like
cheat code,
like, it was like a cheat code, right? Like, but now like these up and comers in the 205-pound division, now you got some real athletes in there. But Jamahal Hill is not just a good athlete; he's a really damn good fighter, and he's got a process behind his game. And when you see a guy, you know, when I watch his UFC debut, and I see a 205er go out there and attempt over 200 significant strikes, and it says he only landed like 100, but like I think the people that count the stats, sometimes they're off. So I basically go off what he attempted. He attempted like 233 strikes. You attempt 233 strikes in the 205-pound fight for 3 rounds. I mean, dude, like, and he's not getting tired. And then people like to talk about how, oh, he got taken down 6 times. I like to talk about how he got back up 6 times. I mean, this guy, you can't hold him down. And then there's this big misconception about the Paul Craig fight. Like, look, you're not going to get a debate from me. Was Jamahal Hill cocky? Yes. Was Jamahal Hill talking too much before that fight? He had to take his first L. But the misconception is that, oh, Paul Craig just took him down and submitted him. Paul Craig did not take him down. Paul Craig pulled guard. Jamahal Hill is so confident in his ground game. He was like, dude, I'm going to beat this guy at his own game and pound him out. Big mistake. I mean, Paul Craig's a guy that submitted Ankalaev. Paul Craig's a guy that submitted Kennedy. Paul Craig's a guy that submitted other Russians too. I mean, he's a guy that's known for, you can take that ass whooping up front, but if he's still there and you start to get a little complacent, a little lackadaisical, I mean, you know about that triangle choke, you know about that armbar. And let's talk about what kind of toughness Jamahal Hill has real quick before we talk about, you know, his skills. Because you remember Anthony Rumble Johnson, who was one of the most devastating knockout artists in the history of the sport, right? But what happens when any kind of adversity presents itself? You put on a choke on him that's not even fully locked in. What's going to happen? He's tapping the mat right away. And this happened on multiple occasions. Jamahal Hill, you break this guy's arm, he ain't tapping. He was trying to punch with the other arm. So that right there is, you know, that's the heart of a champion. So right away, we know that this guy is tough as nails. And actually, Johnny Walker's a tough ass motherfucker too, because that fight that he got knocked out 3 times in, he kept trying to get back up every single time. So Johnny Walker's got heart too. But I think Jamahal Hill's got more skills. So both these guys are dogs. Like if this comes down to both guys are tired and who's going to dig deeper, I think both guys are going to dig deeper. I think the difference is that Jamahal Hill is so much more skilled, man. I mean, again, when you see that kind of output, that kind of volume of a guy his size, but he's also got the one-hitter quitter. Usually, you know, they have all these great tools, but there's something missing. Like with Phil Haas, unbelievable athlete, unbelievable knockout power, D1 wrestler. Like he's got everything I want except a chin. With Jamahal Hill, it's like, what doesn't he have, right? You see what I'm saying? Whereas like with Johnny Walker, I mean, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, he's got the heart, but he doesn't have the chin. He doesn't really have a process behind his game. I saw him go 5 rounds with Maheta and not a single one of them threw a jab. You understand what I'm saying, Clint?
Absolutely.
So look, if Johnny Walker is going to win this fight, there's 2 ways he does it. One way is the flashy KO. I mean, maybe a flying knee, maybe a head kick, an elbow, whatever. But if this fight's going to get extended and Johnny Walker expects to have success, I think his best path to victory would be to actually, you know, start to kind of chop down the legs of Jamahal Hill, try to go with the leg kick and, you know, maybe then kind of take away the power of Hill's shots and kind of, you know, make him wobble around. I mean, that's one thing about having skinny legs. I mean, you got to go out there and attack that. So I think Johnny Walker is going to come out here and kick the legs of Hill. The thing is that when it's Hill's turn to return, when it's Hill's chance to return his shots, that's where I don't think Johnny Walker is going to take them as well, man. And you know, these last few fights since the Corey Anderson fight, firstly, it was alarming as hell that the way Corey Anderson knocked him out. Like if Corey Anderson wrestled him for 3 rounds, okay, that's one thing. But for Corey Anderson to knock you out in the first round, and I know in Bellator he's knocking out 40-year-olds in the first round, but I mean at the UFC level, you know, in the top 5 for Corey Anderson wasn't knocking out shit in the UFC. So when he did that to Corey, to Johnny, it was like, oh man, like maybe those chin issues actually are a real thing. Maybe the reason he got those 3 flashy knockouts is because he didn't get touched one time in those fights. Next fight against Nikita Krylov actually exposed what people thought Corey was going to expose, which is the wrestling area of the game. Then the Ryan Spann fight, man, Johnny got dropped twice, but you guys know Ryan Spann, there's something going on with the mental. I mean, this dude's in the UFC. He's got all his social medias on private, and like if you hear this guy talk, I mean, he's a head case. Jamahal Hill is not a head case. Jamahal Hill has his head on straight. He's already taken his first L, because a lot of you people or when I say you people, a lot of the fans that have heard me talk about undefeated fighters before, like I actually view undefeated as like a red flag, because that means you haven't been properly tested yet, unless you're John Jones or Khabib. That's a different story. So the fact that he's taken his first L, that's perfect for me. He's been humbled, and you saw the kind of accountability he took after that L. I mean, he basically said, I disrespected the game. And then you see the pictures of him partying with Paul Craig that same night. Like, those are the kind of things I like to see. Someone that takes accountability, responsibility, learns from their mistakes, comes back better, goes out there against Jimmy Crute. I understand Jimmy Crute's had some ups and downs, but who the hell has ever handled Jimmy Crute like that in a fight? No one. Jimmy Crute's known for eating your best shots and walking forward the entire time. Like Jimmy Crute's a guy where you tear his ACL and he still goes out there and takes you down 3 times. Yep. Jimmy Crute not only did not sniff a single takedown, but I mean, the shots that Jamahal was hitting him with, it was pretty damn impressive. So, yeah, obviously Johnny Walker can knock anybody out, but if this just becomes a battle of who's going to win based off skill, it's got to be Jamahal Hill. I mean, he works his jab. He's got a nasty straight left. He's got the teep kicks. He's got the leg kicks. He's got the high kicks, the elbows. Don't forget about his step through knees. And his get-up game reminds me of 205 Jose Aldo. So I think that Jamahal, Sweet Dreams Hill, is going to come out here, win his first UFC main event, get a knockout, get a 50K bonus, and I think this time next year he's going to be in the top 5.
I love it, man. I love it. I completely agree. And there's not a whole lot left for me to say. I mean, the way you went off on that bad boy, I can't bring too much more to the table for us, man. The only thing that I'm just ever so slightly concerned about is that Johnny Walker does have a 3-inch reach advantage in this spot. Hill's the type of guy that is used to being the longer guy. He's used to having that reach advantage. So if they tweak things with this kid, Johnny Walker, like he's still that crazy athlete. He's still explosive. He still knows how to hit. So there's always that chance that he can use that size and reach advantage and catch a guy like Hill. But I mean, when we're going skill for skill, you nailed it, man. Like Jamahal Hill has got this guy checked basically everywhere. He's got the confidence. He learned that lesson. He came back. He's more durable. Like I love everything about Jamahal Hill in this spot, especially the volume, because especially watching that last Johnny Walker fight. First off, I don't know that Johnny Walker on his best day could keep up with the pace that Jamahal Hill sets. But after seeing what he did versus Santos, it's like, if this thing is at all, well, it's just not going to be competitive. You know what I mean? Like Hill is going to constantly be working on this guy. And if Johnny thinks he can get back in it with a flying knee or a spinning kick or something like that to keep this fight close, he's just going to put a pace on him. So I like Jamahal Hill a lot. The minus 250 price tag is pretty sweet, pretty perfect. If we can find, another suitable leg for a parlay, that's kind of what I'm looking at potentially doing. The other thought that I had on this fight is the total. Now we're looking at this being a main event. Do you know if they actually moved this one to be in 5 rounds, or did they keep it 3?
Oh, it's absolutely 5 rounds.
I thought so. And for right now, I'm seeing the total hasn't come out a lot, but they've got the opener at 1.5. What are your thoughts on that? We got minus 135, minus 140 for the over 1.5 against Johnny Walker here.
Look, no thoughts on that, but I do have thoughts on what you said about the reach advantage, and I'm really glad you brought that up, actually. So this is true. However, Johnny Walker doesn't throw jabs. Johnny Walker rarely throws straight punches. So, like, you got to use that reach advantage. But, yeah, obviously closing the distance on a guy like that, we got to be worried about getting caught with something coming in. But I had Jamahal Hill on my show Half the Battle last week, and I asked him that exact question. I said, dude, this is the first time you're fighting a guy that's taller than you with a reach advantage. And he said, well, he corrected me. He said, yes, it's the first time I'm fighting a guy taller than me, but it's not the first time I fight a guy with a reach advantage, because actually OSP had a reach advantage over him, and you saw how that went down too. So guys, check out not to make a shameless plug, but check out my show Half the Battle. Check out my show Half the Battle, because I talked to Jamahal Hill in depth about like literally what we're talking about right now, and I wasn't asking any bullshit, tiptoe around the subject type questions. Like, we were getting down to business. Like, how are you going to deal with fighting a guy that much taller than you, a guy that's unpredictable, a guy that he's not your traditional fighter? Like, because in the gym, like, you're used to guys throwing things correctly, jabs, crosses, teeps, whatever. This dude, like, his Johnny Walker's feint game, and like, there's not a guy that's going to replicate Johnny Walker. That's what makes it an interesting puzzle. However, the blueprint to beat him has been exposed multiple times, and I truly believe Jamahal Hill has the goods to do so again.
I completely agree. And there is no blueprint to Jamahal Hill just yet. I mean, if you you want to lay on your back and, goad him to coming on down into your guard, that's the blueprint right now. So good luck figuring out how to beat this kid. I completely agree.
I mean, the blueprint is to knock him out or to somehow be able to consistently chop him down with leg kicks. I personally don't think that's going to work. I think his distance is too good. I think that also he's the kind of guy that makes reads and in-fight adjustments. And if he starts to sense that you're going to something too much, I mean, he's going to have some kind of counter ready for it, man. I mean, I love the tools at his disposal on the feet. He uses all his limbs. And like, with some guys, it's like with Darren Till or with Conor McGregor, I mean, you got to worry about that left-hand shot and I'm not taking away anything from any of them. I'm just saying, like, that's the big thing you got to look out for with them. With Hill, you got to look out for the jab. You got to look out for the straight, the hooks, the overhands, the kicks, the knees, the elbows. I mean, he's the complete package standing, and people don't know about his get-up game, his takedown defense, and his mindset, most importantly, because you can have all the skills, but if you're not that guy mentally, if you're not that kind of competitor, and I know he is. I mean, he got his arm broken and he didn't tap. I mean, isn't that what a dog does? Like, isn't that what a world champion like? So
you can't ask for more than that.
I think that, look, don't get caught, don't get chopped down with leg kicks, and you win this fight. And I will most likely be looking to play Hill straight.
I like it, man. Absolutely love it. All right. Both of us agreeing here. Hill is the pick for the main event. Both of us looking for some way to approach it. Haven't pulled the trigger just yet myself. Shout out to the chat. We got 153 live viewers here on a Monday. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And I do want to address a couple things in the chat here. Frank saying, Clint, keep the chin up. Thank you very much, my friend. Do I wrestle? You know what? I am still on hold, unfortunately, and I was more of a BJJ guy than a wrestler. I wrestled way back in like junior high school, but I did jujitsu, in college and stuff like that when I was first getting into MMA. So it's been a couple years since I've done jujitsu, but I do plan to get back to it. And going to be getting my daughter in there sooner than later, actually, is kind of the plan.
Hey, come train with us in Atlanta, my man. You got an open invitation.
Hell yeah, man. I will. If I make it out there, I will absolutely swing by. Do you guys go gi or no gi?
Every day is gi except Thursday. Thursdays are no gi day.
Okay. See, I always trained at a no gi school. So like I did a little bit of gi, but not a ton of experience there. So I'll come get my my ass collar choked out for a day or two.
So we'll get you in on Thursday then.
Exactly. Nigel Lee, what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining. What's up? Saying, hope you feel better. Chasing dogs get you sometimes. You're still the man. I appreciate that. But you know what, Nigel, I got to say thank you for giving me the segue here. Y'all may remember my sponsor, Goat Capital Sports. Unfortunately, they haven't gotten enough attention from what they've been doing, selling picks and things like that. With the relationship, they had to pull the sponsorship from me. They couldn't keep that going, unfortunately, but I still have a great relationship with them, and they're giving out like free cards every once in a while and stuff. This weekend, they picked the outright winner in the golf tournament, and we hit a 25-1 casher that saved my ass. So I actually turned shit around this weekend, not in MMA, but just, personal funds wise. So I was in a much, much better mood coming into the show than I normally would have been, thanks to them. So, no, official sponsor, but still go check out Goat Capital Sports, everybody. We got Big Steve with the dono here. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. 9 units in, amazing. Hopefully I'll be, 9 units in amazing the right way next time. It's impressive, you know, counting fights wrong as many times as I did last week. It's almost as impressive as getting them all right. So, you know, I'm on a roll in one way or another. Next fight up, we got Kyle Daukaus taking on Jamie Pickett for our co-main event slot here. This is unexpected. You know, Kyle Daukaus was already on the card, obviously not the co-main event. He had a different opponent. Now we got my boy Jamie Pickett sliding in on short notice. And guys, I've gone to the well with Jamie Pickett a couple of times. You know that, and it's never been a popular pick, but the man is a dog. He's coming through. He's making himself known in the UFC. Daukaus, this is the smaller of the Daukaus brothers. I usually say with brothers, Dan, that there's an A side and a B side. Usually there's one that is clearly better than the other. My suspicion is that Kyle is the lesser Daukaus, but watching what the kid can do, there might not be a lesser for these two guys. They're both extremely talented, so I don't want to disrespect him by saying he's the lesser. I'll say he's the smaller. He's coming off that weird Clash of Heads club and sub of Holland, if you guys remember that. Really weird circumstance the way that one played out. High-level BJJ, black belt, lots of scrambles. You know, he had that scramble fest with Allen a while back that he just barely lost. But, you know, the one that was concerning to me is when he really got out-hustled by Phil Hawes. Everybody in this chat knows how much I love fading Phil Hawes. Everyone in this chat knows what I think of Phil Hawes. So the fact that he was not able to outpace or out-gas tank a guy like Phil Hawes, to me, caps where he's at this moment in time. However, even though he gave up the takedown super easily to Hawes, he was actually able to pull some sweet sweeps and reversals. This guy knows what he's doing off his back, was able to reverse and get on top position. The striking is still a work in progress. He's got that Daukaus power. If he goes for a one big-time shot, he can rock you. He can hurt you with that thing, but he doesn't really flow. He doesn't have the combos. He's got those super long, lanky arms, and they're a little bit of a liability standing, but boy, does he know how to use those things for chokes and stuff on the ground. He can use those long arms for, you know, the darces and catching you with it. He jumps guillotine sometimes without people realizing he's going for that neck because his arms are so damn long. Jamie Pickett, like I mentioned, short notice coming in here, but man, I was impressed with his last fight. Now, I know it was against the UFC debutant, so we got to keep a little bit of that in mind. He's got big power. He just doesn't let go, Dan. He's too low volume for me. If he would put things together a little bit more, he kind of started coming on late in that fight, but he's a bit of a slow starter. He's got those teep kicks to the body I really like. He starts working on people that drains the gas tank, and he is a solid grappler. He likes to grind his opponents down, press them up against the fence, slow the pace down, fish for underhooks, pin them up against the cage. Man, Pickett's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here in this spot, and he's coming in here once again as a decent-sized underdog. Plus 180 on Jamie Pickett, minus 220 on Kyle Daukaus. Dan, how do you see this fight playing out, man? What do you think?
I mean, listen, man, I'm not low on Phil Hawes, and I'll tell you all why. And I cashed that plus 130 on Phil Hawes against Kyle Daukaus. I think Phil Hawes has literally everything you want in a fighter except a chin, and it's so frustrating. Freak athlete, D1 wrestler, one hitter, quitter, knockout power, and he can push. It's like, what else, man? If he just had a goddamn chin, it's just so unfortunate, man. It's like, but then you look at a guy like Billy Quarantillo, and he's got everything you want except that freak athleticism, right? So like, it's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, there's always one thing missing with some of these guys, right?
Yep.
Like, so, and with Jamie
that
Pickett,
creative fighter thing, someone ran out of points.
and Jamie Pickett, on the other hand, he's got the physical tools. I just don't think that mentally it's quite there. Look, mentally compared to me, yeah, okay, I'm not going to step in the cage. You're definitely a tougher dude than I am. That's, you know, we're not debating that. I'm just saying at the UFC level, I don't think Pickett is quite the toughest when he gets pushed. And the way that Daukaus was pushing in that Phil Hawes fight, I think that's enough to come out here and break Jamie Pickett. I mean, listen, I understand that Jamie Pickett cashed some bets for a couple people, you know, on these last two, but basically what that tells me is that, look, if you're an entry-level fighter that doesn't quite belong in the UFC, then yeah, Jamie Pickett will get past you. Kyle Daukaus is not an entry-level fighter that doesn't belong in the UFC. look, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be a future top 15 or a top 10, but you don't have to be a future top 15 or top 10 to go out there and beat Jamie Pickett. Charles Byrd finished Jamie Pickett in the first round. Yep. The Beverly Hills Ninja finished Jamie Pickett in the first round. And come Saturday night, live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, Kyle Daukaus is going to finish Jamie Pickett in the first round.
You know, Dan, it was short and sweet, and I can't argue it. And that's I know a lot of people are probably expecting me to say that I'm 2-0 with my boy. I'm free rolling on Jamie Pickett. Now I'm getting a better number. I'm going right back to it. I can't, man. I think he's outgunned essentially everywhere. I mean, if Jamie Pickett were to put it all together, if he started round 1 the way he finished round 3 in his last fight, you know, maybe we'd have a different conversation. But the way it takes him, you know, half the fight to get going, half the fight to get his head in it, I don't think that's going to work against a guy like Kyle Daukaus. Daukaus is going to put it on him early, and the way that Jamie Pickett looks to use his wrestling and pin his opponent up against the fence and take him down, that's not going to work with Kyle Daukaus. Daukaus is the kind of guy that knows how to grapple in those situations. He knows how to sweep. He knows how to submit. So that's going to be a problem for him, man. I think that this price is justified on Kyle Daukaus, and especially, I know Pickett keeps himself in good shape. He's athletic. He's not going to be coming in here just rolling off the couch or anything like that. No 12-pound weight miss this weekend. But I still think that, you know, short notice is not the way you want to approach a Daukaus brother.
But he did just fight not too long ago. Like, he fought in 2022. So hopefully he's still, like, I don't think he's, you know, got a beer belly or anything like that. Like, I don't really think that's going to be a factor. I think it's going to be more so Daukaus is better than him. Therefore, Daukaus is going to win type thing.
I completely agree. And I think this is one, it's plain and simple. No need to get fancy. That's all it comes down to. And that's something you people in the chat right now, you should be doing cartwheels and high-fiving your bros. Send the text message. If it's simple, I'm going to say it's simple. I'm not going to make this complicated and try and push a dog here that I like. I ain't doing it. And I see Frank pulling his magic here, trying to get me and Goombas going. Frank, I don't know where you got the idea. I actually think it would be fun as shit to do some like YouTuber contests and stuff. If Goombas and I are ever in the same area, I would absolutely grapple with him. That would be a good time. But it's definitely not beef. Frank was trying to sell that there was beef on another stream. He's not doing that tonight, but everybody, just so you know, Frank's having fun. I would love to wrestling versus BJJ with me and Goombas.
I like Andrew too. He's a good kid, but I think he fucked up his shoulder wrestling.
Yeah, I think he got hurt.
Yeah, but he's a good kid though. I like him.
No, he's awesome. He's sharp as a tack too, which, by the way, y'all should know. If you've seen my my schedule that I tweeted out, he's going to be making his return to the podcast here as well. So we'll be seeing Andrew pretty soon. Frank, you'll be you have to come around for that one when we're both on camera. Next fight up, Jim Miller, man, makes his return against Nikolas Motta. And this is a fight that I have some very serious questions about, Dan. I am scratching my head over here. So this is a rebooked fight, all right? Jim Miller and Nick Motta were scheduled to fight just a couple months ago. Jim tested positive for COVID. The fight gets pulled. Jim actually ends up getting a fight. Motta doesn't. Jim gets rocked by the Ghost Pepper in round 1 and then proceeds to commit first-degree murder on live television. He absolutely folded that man in half. Like, we talk about round 1 Miller, right? We know he comes out hot. We know he's got power. We know that slick, high-level jiu-jitsu game, especially in round 1. Jim Miller is so damn dangerous. But we always talk about how he falls off. We talk about the Lyme disease. We talk about how old he is. He's slowing down, especially in round 2 and round 3. He just can't keep it up. And he killed a man last time in the second round. So, like, I don't know what's going on with this line, Dan. Last time we talked about it, it was a pick'em. Jim Miller minus 120 against a debuting UFC Dana White Contender Series kid. After he kills a man on national television, rightfully so, the bookies adjust and they go, you know what? Maybe Jim is a little sharper than we thought. And they open him up minus 185. Now, does that number get bet back down to a pick'em where it was last time? No. That number swings so hard the other direction that right now Jim Miller is a plus 155 underdog. And I put a tweet out about this earlier, Dan. I'm sitting here going, look, we've talked about this fight. We've broken it down. Bookies don't have numbers swing that big unless there's an informational change, unless there's an actual tangible thing that has happened to swing that number. And I don't know what might have happened because Motta has not fought. So we have no new information on him whatsoever. We haven't seen that he's leveled up. We haven't seen that he's gotten better. We haven't seen that he's gotten more durable. What we have seen is that Jim Miller is still Jim freaking Miller. And I said, somebody replied to me and said that he got clipped by a nobody in the first round. Yeah, okay. You know, we talk about how these lesser known fighters, or if you're not quite crisp enough, like if your striking is not clean, your offbeats actually can catch the guys that are expecting higher level striking because it comes from a wrong angle. It comes at the wrong time. So yeah, he got clipped. Guys get clipped in fights all the time. He came back and won dominantly. So I'm extremely confused, Dan, why this number has been pushed so far the other way. Should we be buying the dip on Jim Miller in this spot? Or do you know something that I don't as to why Motta deserves to be coming in here minus 180 over a UFC future Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Motta's not just some random contender series guy. Let's talk about this. This dude was on The Ultimate Fighter back in 2015, the same season where Joaquin Silva, Neto BJJ was on, Gleico França was on. So back in 2015 when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, wasn't quite ready. I mean, don't get me wrong, he still won a fight on the show, but you know, he lost to the eventual winner of the show, goes back to the regional scene. And I mean, look at the dudes that this guy fought on his regional scene. Motta goes out there against Joe Solecki, who beat Jim Miller, by the way. Not trying to do any MMA math, but just throwing that out there, yes. The kind of level of guys that he was fighting. And if you guys know about Joe Solecki is a very high level black belt. And I'm not just talking about for MMA standards. I'm talking about for pure jiu-jitsu standards. Like, did you see that grappling match Joe Solecki just had with Cowboy? Did you see how quickly he tapped out Cowboy? Like, Joe Solecki is something else on the mat. So him and Nick Motta get into this fight, and Joe Solecki's taking down Nick Motta. Joe Solecki's full mounting, taking his back, doing all these things. Nick Motta survives all the choke attempts, and you know, he's down 2 rounds. Round 3 comes around, and Motta showed that urgency that he needed to show to go out there and win the fight, and he lands a devastating, vicious, brutal KO on Solecki. I'm talking about, you know, they had to bring in the smelling salts. Like when we talk about his knockout against Balmaceda, they had to bring in the stretcher. So what I'm trying to say here is that, like, this dude Nick Motta, when he gets you, he gets you. And I'm going to talk about Dana's criticism of him here in a second. But one thing I want to point to is I'm very familiar with Motta because he actually fought one of my very good friends, Robert Hale. Mm-hmm. And my buddy Robert Hale actually knocked out Nick Motta in the first round. And the only place you can watch that fight is on my YouTube channel. So type in Half the Battle, check out Robert Hale highlight reel. And the only place you can find the Nick Motta versus Robert Hale fight is on Rob Hale's highlight reel. And you guys will hear from Robert King Hale in the UFC very soon. So just remember that name. Write down the name Robert Hale, and just remember, because you might look him up right now and see that he's got an 11-5 record and be like, what do you mean, Dan? Yeah, 11-5, because this motherfucker was out here going up weight classes to fight undefeated Russians, going the distance with them, landing over 100 strikes against them when he was like super early into his career. Now he's taking the right fights, getting on that win streak. Robert Hale will be in the UFC very, very soon. So him and Nick Motta get into this absolute banger of a fight. And, you know, Robert Hale, he clips Nick Motta with a check left hook and drops him. Rob gets super excited, is going in for the finish. And then they actually had a very rare double knockdown. So Rob catches Nick with the check left hook. They have the double knockdown as Rob's trying to finish the fight. They both get back up, and then Rob ends up, you know, clipping him a couple more times and sealing the deal and knocking him out in the first round. This dude, Nick Motta, I mean, it takes a lot to put him out. He wasn't willing to go down for nothing. He survived 2 knockdowns, still trying to fight, still swinging. This guy's got heart. What I'm trying to say is this. Look, yeah, we know Jim Miller's a fucking legend, a Hall of Famer, most fights in UFC history, is it most finishes in lightweight history, like most this, most that. I mean, the dude is an absolute legend. He's got all these records, all these bonuses, will be in the Hall of Fame, always has my respect. I love you, Jim Miller, but the facts are, when Jim Miller goes past the first round in the last few years, he tends to lose. Now, I get it. That last fight went 10 seconds into the second round, and he knocked the kid out, a kid who has zero business in the UFC.
Yeah.
No disrespect. Motta is not a kid that has zero business in the UFC. He's a kid that already paid his dues on the Ultimate Fighter, already paid his dues on the regional scene, beating guys like Joe Selecki, already paid his dues on Contender Series. Now, Contender Series, let's talk about that, because Dana had some criticism from Motta. He said, man, he wasn't aggressive enough. Man, I didn't see that killer in him, which actually probably really hurt Nikolas Motta's feelings. The reason being is, if you watch Nick Motta's regional fights and you see the way he kills these guys, you see what he did to Cesar Balmaceda, you see what he did to Joe Selecki, and he decided, man, maybe I should reel it in a little bit. Maybe I should, just fight smarter. So he decided to fight smarter, and now he's being criticized for it. So
one fight too soon, kid, on the Contender Series. Let it fly, then do it when you're in the UFC.
But they still gave him the contract, and rightfully so. And I think what's going to happen here is the same dynamic as every Jim Miller fight in the last half decade. Look, Jim Miller's always got a chance to finish you in that first round. I mean, he is so dangerous. He's so opportunistic. He's so crafty as a vet. But I don't think that Motta's coming in here as just some random green rookie. Like, we're going to talk about these kids like Strader, who's like 5-2 and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? This dude out here, this dude's got 15 pro fights plus the Ultimate Fighter fights. He's ready to come in here and make his debut. So I think he weathers this early storm from Jim Miller, and I think he knocks him out in the second or third round. So give me Nick Motta to win his UFC debut, get the biggest win of his career, and all due respect to the legend Jim Miller, who we all absolutely love.
I hear you, Dan. I do. And it's funny because last week, I decided to break my habit of the Dana White Contender Series fade. One of my absolute new favorite angles in the world is that you just fade these kids coming in their UFC debuts. When they come in favored over a veteran, even somebody who's struggled in one or two fights recently in the UFC, you just bet against them, man. And they fall short. I broke my rule. I bet on AJ Dobson. And what happens? He gets grinded out by the guy with UFC experience. Like, shit. Like, that's my own angle. And I went against it and cost myself. So I cannot bet on Motta in this spot. I hear what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I know exactly what's going on here. And you know what? One thing, everybody who, especially tap here, the haters, listen up here, because I'm the type of guy that admits when he's wrong, Dan. I'm the type of guy that will sit up here and say, I made a mistake, fucked up, got that wrong. I was fully planning on pulling the trigger Dana White Contender Series fade here, back in Jim A. Tim Miller, doing it hard last time at the -110 price tag. I was ready to go. I think I saved money with that fight being rescheduled. I truly believe that I saved cash, because if Motta was the guy that clipped Jim in round 1 of that last fight, Jim ain't getting back up. There is no round 2. So I think that you are correct. I am also going to agree with you and say that Nikolas Motta is going to win this fight after getting some time to sit on it. But I think the way I want to approach this one is a little bit different. I am seeing right now for the opener. Now, unfortunately, I don't have access to this line just yet. But they've got the round set at 2.5. They got over 2.5 -140. The under is +110. The fight doesn't go the distance, is -115. That's how I'm going to attack this fight.
I like it.
I'm going to bet violence in this spot, because if Jim Miller does what Jim Miller does, this is a first round sub. If Jim Miller fades in round 2 or in round 3, I don't think he's making it to the judges' scorecards with the type of heat Motta swings with. I think this is a good violence spot.
Exactly. And you have the reference point of a black belt of the caliber of Joe Selecki taking down Motta. Motta survives everything. Motta comes back and knocks him out. And I'm not trying to, and guys, when I bring up Selecki, I'm not trying to be like, oh, well, Motta beat him and Jim lost to him, therefore, I'm not doing that bullshit at all. What I'm doing is I'm showing that Motta can survive these early bad spots and still have the urgency to come back and win the fight later on. That's what I'm getting at. And that's what you need to do to beat a legend, someone we admire so much like Jim Miller. So, and I think the way to beat Motta is do what my friend Robert Hale did and knock him the fuck out. And maybe Jim does that. But I think that, back to what Dana was talking about, Motta's starting to get more mature. He's reeling it in a little bit. He's not as wild as he used to be. Now he's actually ready to be in the big show. Whereas if he would have gotten signed back when he was on The Ultimate Fighter in 2015, he probably would have washed out. But now he's ready. And it's so important to be ready. You see these guys coming in the UFC all the time, 5-1 records, 5-0, 6-0. And a couple fights later, you remember Impa Kasanganai? Let's talk about this for a second. Okay, Impa, who's actually a super talented guy, who's a great athlete, who has a bright future. Now, he had 2 Contender Series appearances. Now, remember this, Clint. Remember the first time that Impa was on Contender Series and Dana White didn't sign him? Do you remember the uproar? Do you remember the backlash
outrage.
Dana got, the outrage that Dana got for not signing him? Now, you remember that, but do you also remember Dana's reasoning for not signing him? Dana said these specific words. Look, I think the kid's talented. I think he's got a bright future. I just think if we sign him right now, he's going to get hurt. And guess what ends up happening when he got signed? Ends up on the wrong end of one of the most epic highlight reel knockouts in the history of the sport against Joaquin Buckley. Ends up getting knocked out against Carlston Harris. So when Dana says stuff like Ronnie Lawrence is special, when Dana says stuff like, hey, I like this kid Impa, I just think that he might get hurt if we sign him too soon. Oh, look, he got hurt because they signed him too soon. Motta has paid his dues. Motta is ready right now. I think that's the fundamental difference, Clint.
And I also think there's something to be said for them rebooking this fight. Yeah, they want Motta against Jim Miller. They want Nikolas Motta to come in here at this level against the caliber name like Jim Miller. And I mean, you want to talk about prospects and matchups, man. Roxanne Modafferi and Casey O'Neill just over the weekend. That was a spot where Casey O'Neill probably needs a little bit of time. She's got every tool in the book. She's going to be there. She's talented. She's skilled. They wanted Roxanne Modafferi's name on her resume. So they made that fight happen, even though she may not quite have been ready for it. She got the win. She got it done, but it wasn't pretty. You know what I mean? But they knew she was going to get that dub in Roxy's retirement fight. The UFC knows what they're doing. Dana White knows what he's talking about sometimes. So I do believe that this is a bit of a setup spot. And man, that's, I'm trying not to get too fancy on myself over here. Carlos Ulberg versus Fabio Cherant last week, folks. I talked myself into betting Fabio Cherant because I'm not sold on Carlos Ulberg. I think he's a bum, but I shouldn't have tried to fade him with Fabio Cherant.
If you think Ulberg's a bum, then I got to hear your opinion on Cherant.
Exactly. No, but I thought the Cherant would have a decent enough shot at implementing a grappling heavy approach, and that's where that was just a stupid move on my part, man. I read in a little too hard trying to fade somebody and just backed a fighter that didn't have the tools to pull off the game plan that someone down the line will. This is what's going on here in this spot. If Jim Miller doesn't get Motta in that first round, he's fully capable. He is. But if he doesn't, he's probably going to die in the second. So I'm with you there. All right. We got 197 live viewers. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for hanging out, talking UFC Vegas 49 on this Valentine's Day evening. Everybody smash that like button for me. All right. Do me a little favor. Help us pump those rookie numbers up a little bit. And we're going to take a short break before our next chat to talk about a couple of our sponsors. right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Next fight up, speaking of Impa Kasanganay, we're talking Joaquin Buckley, the man who had that highlight reel knockout, taking on Abdul Razak Alhassan in a fight that just screams violence. Holy crap, what a matchup. So Joaquin Buckley, you know, he's training over at Extreme Couture these days, working with guys like Action Man Curtis. One thing I forget about Joaquin Buckley, man, is he's only 27 years old. Like, for the level of stardom and fame this kid has got to, for the couple of, you know, dips he's taken so far in his career, he's only 27. He's still got a long way to go. He can patch up a lot of these holes and improve. The future is bright for a kid like Buckley. He likes to keep those hands up high. He's got that high boxing guard. And he's got those lanky, long gorilla-style arms, man. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot. Usually, even though he's the short guy, he has longer arms. And boy, is he fast. When he explodes, this kid can move. Big looping power shots, and he carries that power late. He's got a couple of third-round knockouts, and he's just that guy that you can't count out the nuclear option, right? He could be losing 13 minutes of a 15-minute fight and still pull off that win. Abdul Razak Alhassan, we all left this guy for dead. You know, we thought it was over. We thought it was done. He had those personal issues, the legal troubles, and that really seemed to have taken a lot out of him. He moved up from 170 to 185, where he looks like a balloon. I mean, he's massive up at 185, thick. But he came back and showed us that he still got it in his last fight against Striegl. But he did what he always does, Dan, and that's round one. If Abdul Razak Alhassan doesn't finish you in round one, he ain't finishing the fight. That's just how it seems to go. He's a lot like Jim Miller. He is so crazy, athletic, and explosive early on in that fight. He could knock out a rhino with a head kick. But if you drag this thing out a little bit later, he just doesn't seem to have the pace. He doesn't seem to have the grappling. And I don't know that his power necessarily leaves him, but he throws so much into everything that it seems like he can't quite finish the fight the deeper it goes. He may have found himself getting that much needed win, that wind in his sails, kind of setting him straight after everything, putting it behind him. This fight should be a car crash as long as it lasts, man. The only thing is, I'm not sure where I rate Buckley at this point. He's been impressive, but he's been knocked out 3 times already. I worry a little bit about that chin, his willingness to throw and engage, and his 3 UFC wins are Ahoyo, who's been cut, Wright, who, if he hasn't been cut, they're sticking him, you know, they're keeping him around for how exciting he is, and then Kasanganay, who we just talked about, has been let go because he is not built for this kind of war at this level. At least not yet. We'll see. Impa's got some time ahead of him as well. Maybe he comes back. But 3 guys that have all been cut from the UFC are the guys that are really Buckley's biggest wins. Abdul Razak is a big challenge for a kid like this. I like where Buckley is at. I like where he's training, especially working with a guy like Action Man. He's got a very similar style. You can see him really rubbing off on a guy like Buckley and showing him the ropes, teaching him where he can go. But I don't know that I want to lay minus 145, minus 150 on Joaquin Buckley when he's taking on Alhassan, who seems to have a little bit of that swagger back, Dan. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, look, I get the narrative. You know, he's training in Vegas now, so maybe he's going to come here and try to wrestle more. But the bottom line is, yeah, maybe he'll get 1 or 2 takedowns. But if you think that he's going to come out here like Jacob Malkoun and attempt 24 takedowns, you're very, very mistaken, man. I mean, these kids like Jacob Malkoun, Ronnie Lawrence, Bilal Muhammad, Merab Dawalishvili, Nick Maximov. I'm telling you right now, remember how we were talking about the calf kicks, which is still a fucking great weapon? These kids coming up that can attempt takedown after takedown after takedown and not get tired, that's going to be a style that beats so many people and wins so many fights that you just have to take note. And Buckley, plain and simple, is just not that guy. Like I said, yeah, he might land a takedown or 2, but this dude ain't about to come out here and, you know, attempt 12 to 20 takedowns like these other guys. So I wouldn't even worry about that. These 2 are going to go back to their natural instincts and they're going to stand and bang until one man falls. And that's just the bottom line. Both guys have been knocked out before. Buckley's been knocked out more. So I see this as a 50-50 fight, and I'm going to go with Razak Alhassan to knock out Joaquin Buckley. Look, I could easily be wrong, and it could be Razak on the receiving end of the knockout, but You know, I think it should be line -110 apiece. So give me the +130, +125 dog. Razak, I mean, he's dangerous against anybody, man. Like, I get all his wins are in the first round. So come out here and win in the first round again. I got Razak via first round knockout.
I'm right there with you, Dan. I really am. And Chaos Williams is the only guy that really has been able to put out Abdul Razak Alhassan. And that was at the height of his troubles. That was his last fight at 170. He missed weight moving into that one. And really, that was Chaos Williams' intro to the UFC. That was everybody finding out who the hell Chaos Williams was. And I honestly think that Abdul Razak Alhassan kind of looked past him, you know, thought that he should be able to walk through a UFC newcomer kid like this. He got decisioned by Munir Lazez, who is a slick, high caliber striker, somebody who flows far better on the feet, in my opinion, than Buckley does. And then he got decisioned by Jacob Malkoun. We talked about that. That guy can grapple his ass off. We saw it again just this past week. If you don't land the right shot and end him in round one, he's going to blanket you for the rest of the fight. So I can't really knock him too much for that. I don't think Buckley is capable of doing what Jacob Malkoun did. I don't think he's got the wrestling chops and the gas tank to come out and smother Abdul Razak Alhassan for a full 15 minutes. Now, can he do what Chaos Williams did in round one, bang it out and see which man drops first? Yeah, that's definitely something that Buckley is capable of. But like you said, I think this should be a pick'em. I am right there with you that I think Abdul Razak Alhassan probably deserves a little bit better than this +125 price tag that he's getting. It's thin value. So I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to straight up bet him or not, but I mean, I don't see why not, man. That's the way I'm looking. I might end up on the dog here in this spot.
Let me say one more thing, because I understand a lot of people's arguments that, like, you know, Alhassan's coming off a 17-second knockout. Like, what can you take away from a 17-second knockout? You didn't get to see the fight extended. And you have a very valid point when you say that. But let me give my counter argument, Clint. You ready? My counter argument is this. At least that 17-second knockout gave him back his confidence. And confidence is a motherfucker in this game. Like, if you're not feeling yourself, look at that skid that Razak was on. If you're feeling yourself, you're coming out there with that swag. Now that you know you're back, I think we're going to see better things from him. So that's what I take away from the knockout. Again, you can't expect a 17-second knockout every time, but at least we know that he got his confidence back, and maybe he finally believes that he's the Razak of old, because the Razak of old, I mean, you remember what he did to Nico Price? I mean, like, that dude is scary.
I'm a fan of Nico Price. I still have nightmares about that one, man. That was not okay. And even though, you know, Abdul Razak Alhassan is getting up there, he's a little bit older. It's not like he's 40 years old, man. He's not an ancient dude by any stretch of the imagination. And real quick here, I want to check and see something. He's about the same height as Buckley too. That's something that always kind of concerns me about Buckley, is that I feel like he's maybe swinging a little bit above his weight class. Like, I know he's one of these thicker built type of dudes, but he seems like he's more fitting at 170 to me. And maybe the same is true of Abdul Razak Alhassan, but boy, the way he swelled up when he moved up to 185, that's a different level of muscle between these two guys. I think the strength advantage and that sheer pop in his punches, the power advantage, has got to go to Abdul Razak Alhassan in this spot.
And this is just me, like, kind of like I don't bet against Russia. I don't bet against Africa either, which, I mean, that's just me. You don't have to follow me on that angle. We're going to talk about David Onama here in a second, but I don't think it's profitable betting against Russians or Africans. That's just me, though.
Yeah, man, I hear you. Not right now, not the way they're coming in hot.
Not long term. You'll get one here and there. There's going to be an Antigolov. There's going to be an Oluwale Bangbose here and there, but for the most part, like, long term, you ain't going to make money fading Russians and Africans.
Agreed. Absolutely. They come built different. Man, you set this one up nicely for us to roll straight on in. Parker Porter, the man himself, the heavyweight GOAT, the king of Twitter, taking on Alan Baudot. And this is a spot that everybody is looking forward to. King Parker Porker just doing his damn thing out there and rolling right on through the next guy. It's so funny to me how Parker went from being this guy that everybody, you know, mocking the physique, making fun of the old man rolling in here, and Now he's everybody's favorite damn fighter on every single card. I love it. I absolutely love it. Honestly, gotta enjoy Parker. He's such a good dude. He's a family guy. He works his ass off and he fights his ass off. Like Parker comes in here and he's a volume guy. He's got fast hands. He's got those tree trunk legs. He's got those hard leg kicks. He keeps his hands low though, man, and that's concerning. He kind of relies on his head movement, but it's not quite there. He's no Anderson Silva. Like he gets popped a couple times. He had me worried in that Chase Sherman fight a couple of times when he got hit, but we know the deal with Chase Sherman. He's another one of these good hammer, bad nail types that if he's not running away with it, he's not going to get the dub. Parker Porter is very, very hittable. 12-6 heavyweight. He has been finished in 5 of those 6 losses. So I got some questions about his durability. One thing people underrate about him, though, is his submission game. He is a heavy, heavy dude. And if he gets on top of you, he has some subs that people are just not ready for. Alan Baudot, 8-2, judo background, training partner of Sokan. This guy is light on his feet. I mean, he's another one of these super athletic, bouncy heavyweights. He likes to walk forward and trade big bombs, and he starts fast. Baudot's got good takedown defense, good strong hips, but he expends a lot of energy early. He's another one of these guys that tends to slow down a little bit the longer the fight goes. You remember that Nascimento fight, man? It looked like Nascimento was a dead man walking in round 1. Nascimento flips the script on him in round 2, and it was over just as fast. He throws spinning back fists, elbows, big clinch knees. I mean, honestly, Dan, I like Alan Baudot's game. As long as he's got that gas tank. as soon as he runs empty, that's a different story. But he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here in this spot. And I've got a question for you, Dan. I just want to ask what you think. If you could pick a 2-team tag team, MMA fighter type of situation, would you take Chase Sherman and Josh Parisian? Or would you take Rodrigo Nascimento and Tom Aspinall?
I mean, you already know my answer. The second one.
That's an easy answer, man. I honestly, Dan, am extremely confused. I think that this is recency bias blinding everybody right now. Parker Porter is a -250 favorite after putting a pace on a guy like Chase Sherman, who never belonged in the UFC, still doesn't belong in the UFC. He was able to land a bunch of big shots, but the guy can't bust a grape on the feet. And we've seen Chase Sherman take a big shot and quit before. Parker was able to put a pace on him and never hurt him, never had a chance to get him out of there. And like I mentioned, he ate a bunch of those shots coming back his way. If he eats those shots clean from a guy like Alan Baudot, he's crumpling. And you've got Baudot as a +200 underdog in this spot, man. At heavyweight, one of my old angles, I got away from this one. But I used to basically say, if you're getting, middle of the road heavyweights, flip that coin. If you're getting a big plus line on one guy and they're relatively the same level, you take that plus money because it's going to be a car crash. And when one guy falls over, you might as well take the plus side of that 50-50. And I'm extremely tempted here. I think I'm going to put a bet on Alan Baudot come Saturday, actually. Dan, how do you feel about this fight?
I don't want to talk you off of it because I'm not going to lay no -260 on Parker Porter, but let me say this. I've faded Baudot in both of his UFC fights, and I was so confident in Aspinall, I literally played him at -350 straight because I thought the true line was closer to -900, right? So, and also if you watch his fight on that TKO regional scene, which I think, no disrespect to my Canadian friends, but I think it's like one of the worst regional scenes ever. There was that one fight where he got his ass beat. I think he actually got submitted, but they said he won because his opponent tested positive for marijuana. So he's actually got more losses than you think. But anyways, the Aspinall fight, yeah, we can sit here and say, oh, but it was Aspinall, but it wasn't even like a fight. It was just walk through him, no big deal. Yep. Now, the Nascimento fight, however, because after the Aspinall fight, I was like, dude, I'm just gonna fade this fucking guy again every single time he fights in the UFC. Because with Baudot, it's like one of those things where he's kind of like, I don't want to compare it to Johnny Walker because I don't think he's as athletic, but he's like unpredictable. He'll throw like weird spins. He'll throw somersaults. Like he'll do all kinds of wacky shit. And as a result, he'll give up bad positions. And also, I think that once the going gets tough, that he'll kind of cave in. But he gave me a scare in that Nascimento fight. I'm not even gonna.
I had Nascimento parlayed.
So at least we can agree that he's made an improvement from one fight to the next. That much, you're not gonna get a debate. It's just that while I'm not laying no minus 260 on Parker Porter, who I respect. I mean, big leg kicks. This is a dude that fought John Jones on the regional scene, paid his dues. What Parker Porter's?
I want that rematch.
I know. I want that rematch on pay-per-view. No, Parker Porter is like what I refer to as a solid journeyman. He's just a solid journeyman, and I think he probably gets past this one. But like, yeah, again, I ain't laying no. If I'm gonna lay that price, I want that price on like Jamahal Hill. You feel me? Like I don't want that price on Parker Porter. So, you know, these are two big boys. Anything can happen. He catches him with a spin, something like that. Hey, go cash that dog money. So if you're taking the shot, I'm not gonna talk you off it. I just really think that if you had to rank all the heavyweights on the roster, I really do think Baudot is towards the bottom end of the spectrum, so to speak. Like I can't think of too many guys that he's better than. Like I'm not convinced he beats Chase Sherman, which is like crazy to say. I know because it's like Chase Sherman loses every single fight, right? But I don't know. I'm going Parker Porter. I'm just, you know, a price like that on him, not my cup of tea. I'm passing.
I hear you. And that's, you know, I know everybody in the chat is screaming at me to stop because I'm always betting the underdogs. But this is a spot, man. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage. I think he's got a higher natural ceiling than a guy like Parker does. And yeah, Parker may get the win. You know, maybe he's able to avoid the big bomb and he just grinds his way to another win. But what we see with Alan Baudot is, you know, when he gets taken out, it is somebody with earth-shattering power that puts him down. Tom Aspinall got him. You know, Rodrigo Nascimento got him. And unless I'm mistaken, that fight got turned over to a no contest. Didn't Nascimento pop after that one?
Yeah, but don't forget about Todd Stout. It says it's a win, but that dude finished Baudot. It's just Todd Stout. He smoked a little reefer. He was smoking the devil's lettuce. So they gave the win to Baudot. But like I saw Todd Stout, or as they say in Canada, Stout. I saw Todd Stout go out there and finish Baudot. So like we can't just like act like that didn't happen. And that was his fight before Aspinall. So technically speaking, he's been finished 3 fights in a row. And don't forget about the Dalcha Lunjambula fight. You want to see someone face plant? You want to see a vicious ass knockout? You want to see a 26-second one punch face first knockout? Check out Alan Baudot versus Dalcha. So basically, he's been finished in 4 of his last 5 fights, and the one guy he beat is 0-2. I can't get behind this guy.
I hear you, Dan. I totally hear you. I just
but
power. That
fighting
power
is
what
fighting.
It comes down to for me.
Fighting is fighting. So I'm not one. If you feel convicted, go for it. Because you know, like people will have an opinion, and then let's say I tweet a different opinion, and then all of a sudden people want to change their opinion. Don't do that. Like I'm not always right. Clint's not always right. Like so, it's like just think for yourself. But that's my reasoning of why I don't want anything to do with Baudot. But I could still be dead wrong about that. There's been so many times when I've been confident about something and been wrong. But here I'm not confident. I just pick Porter to win and leave it at that.
I hear you, Dan. I hear you. And honestly, it's tough sometimes. I absolutely, you know, the guests that I bring on my show, they're all people I respect. They're all people whose opinions that I listen to. And that's when it's actually funny. It's almost a tool for me, man, because I know when I like a spot, if you go against me and I defend my position or I waver on it, because if you speak truth that I'm like, shit, like that's when I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not that confident in this spot. But then when you say something opposed to what I'm talking about and I go, you know what? Actually, I got a counter to that. Like I still like my position. I'm still going to debate my side. That's when I go, you know what? I got to bet this one. I like that spot. It's a nice little measuring stick for me with my co-hosts here on the show. So, Yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and take that shot on Alan Baudot at that plus 200 line. I just think, again, for me, one of the biggest things it comes down to is the power. Because if Parker Porter is not able to take advantage of this guy missing with a spinning attack, if he hits him with a big shot, Parker doesn't have the power to make him collapse like Dalcha does. That's the one thing Dalcha does right is he explodes. Nascimento obviously has a different level of power than a guy like Parker Porter. So I just think that if Parker's going to win this fight, it's going to be another 15-minute decision. Maybe if he gets on top of him, he submits him or something. But the thing people forget is the judo background of Alan Baudot. I could see Parker going for a ride here, folks. Like, that's the kind of thing that you don't see coming. I could see a judo throw, a hip toss or something if they get into a grappling exchange, and Parker is not nearly as effective off his back as he is in top position. So I think there's enough advantages to make this thing close enough, man. Another spot to look, I think, for violence, though. If you want to look for this thing to get finished one way or the other, either fighter, I don't think that's a bad look either. Next fight up, let's go ahead and move on. Oh, we have got Jesse Strader taking on Chad Ellinger, I think is how you say that. I'm sure I'm butchering the poor guy's last name. And this is another fight that I've seen some pretty hot takes on around Twitter, man. Jesse Strader is 5-2. So another one of these low experience type of fighters stepping in here to the UFC. Chad is 8-2. And while he's a little bit older, he's late to the dance here. He's got a little bit more experience, but a couple of years longer in the tooth. Jesse making his he made his UFC debut against Montel Jackson, the poor kid. Came out, ate that round 1 KO loss, showed some good heart. He's got a knockout loss to Marcelo Rojo, who we just saw fight. Same situation. Showed some really good heart. Still ate the big shot and went down. I worry a little bit about the chin of Jesse Strader. I mean, both those guys throw heat, so you can't necessarily say that it's his chin that's the problem, but you take a couple big knockouts like that, and it's hard. Sometimes you never come back quite the same. He's insanely aggressive. He likes to attack those leg kicks, and he does it hard. And if you've peeped this man's Instagram, his thighs are like nothing I've ever seen before. So those leg kicks are a mighty weapon. He keeps his hands nice and low, and he likes to rip body, head, man. He hits you so hard in the abs, makes you drop those arms, looks for the liver, and then he comes high. And that's really the most success he's had on the regional scene, is getting those big winging hook power knockouts. But he got dropped. I mean, he dropped Marcelo Rojo actually in round 1 with a body shot. I thought that fight was going to be over. Even rewatching it, knowing the result, I still thought Jesse Strader was going to win the way Rojo went down. I just worry about the experience level. He's got a 6-inch reach advantage here in this spot, and Chad, he won a split decision on Dana White's Contender Series. I mean, who gets the UFC call on a split decision? This is one of those spots where, again, he's an older man. He's 35. It's kind of a now or never type of thing. I think Dana maybe took a little bit of pity on him and said, you know what, I like your stuff. If this was 5 years ago, he would have told him to get 1 or 2 good regional scene wins and come on back, but he went ahead and signed him in this spot. Chad's got a nice jab on him. He's a pressure fighter, but the problem is he gave up the takedown easy on Dana White's Contender Series. I can absolutely see him getting out grappled, but he's got aggressive ground and pound when he's in top position, big power knees, good killer instinct. When he's got his opponents hurt, he absolutely goes for that finish. And he showed good fight IQ in round 3. And one thing I do want to mention on that Dana White Contender Series fight is it was 1-1 going into the third. He won a split, but he did everything right in that third round. He knew how to go for it. He knew how to put it on the line in the right spots, also keep himself safe when he needed to. I like Chad Ellinger, and like I said, the one thing I really just am not a fan of is the fact that he's 35 and a bit older. This is a spot where I see a lot of people taking the dog shot on Jesse Strader here. He is a big underdog, plus 230, plus 220. Chad is about a minus 275, minus 280 favorite. And if I'm being honest, Dan, this is one of those spots where the line doesn't really make sense to me. I think Chad should be the favorite, but I totally agree that this is way too wide. But I think it's another spot that I would just rather bet on violence, the way these guys fight. I think under is a much better way to approach this fight than rolling the dice on either of them. How do you see this one playing out?
Man, firstly, who is Jesse Strader's manager? Because like, what the fuck? Not only what the fuck is a 5-2 guy doing in the UFC, but let's take it back a little bit. Let's look at this history. What the hell is a 3-0 guy doing fighting Marcelo Rojo, who was 14-5 at the time? You understand? That was Marcelo Rojo's 20th pro fight, and this was Jesse Strader's 4th pro fight. Like, who the fuck is letting him take these fights? And it's sad because Jesse Strader is actually a talented kid. If you watch some of his knockouts, man, they're some of the most brutal knockouts I've seen on the regional scene. You got to give kids like this a chance to develop. You don't just take him. This guy's fighting. Okay, so the two like real guys he fought, they both knocked him out in the first round because he wasn't ready for those fights yet, man. Like, why? Like, let this guy. He's 5-2. Let's get to 10-2. Then you come to the UFC. He ain't ready yet. And it's sad because the kid's got the physique. He's got the heart, like you said. He cracks. I mean, like, I enjoy this kid, Jesse Strader. I'm just like, dude, like you're a kid. Like you're a minnow swimming with the sharks, man. I feel bad because like they're ruining this guy's career. Like is it? I got someone tell me who the hell his management is. Who the fuck let a 3-0 guy fight 14-5 Marcelo Rojo? Like, I get it. Rojo's 0-2 in the UFC. Rojo fought Air Jordan and Kyler Phillips. This is a completely different level. This kid Strader's in here with just random dudes we never heard of. So I feel so bad for him, man. Like Strader, man. Like I wish Dana could intervene and been like, he's gonna get hurt here. Let him get some more experience on the regional scene. And then, but here's the thing with this kid, Chad. Firstly, he's tiny. Okay, like I think this dude should be fighting at flyweight. The issue is since he's 35 years old, I bet that cut is too brutal for him. So he's fighting at 135. Says he's 5'6". Between you and me, he's 5'4". And also, he's got a shorter reach than all the ladies on this card. And that's not, I know that I like to be funny. I know I like to be sarcastic. I know I like to joke around. I am not being funny, I'm not being sarcastic, and I'm not joking around when I say that Chad has the smallest reach on this entire card, and there's 4 ladies fighting on this card. This dude is tiny, and this dude is going to get bodied in the UFC. Luckily for him, he's fighting a guy that doesn't belong in the UFC, a guy that's 5-2, a guy that needs more seasoning. So he's probably going to come away with this one. I mean, look, Chad's a tough guy, man. What I respect about Chad so much is this dude starts off his career. Listen to this. He starts off his career 2-5. You hear me, Clint? 2-5.
I noticed that.
I know guys on the regional scene that start their careers off 0-2, and then they say, "Fuck it, I'm done with this shit. I'm gonna go open up an ice cream shop." Actually, that's a real story. And my bro that did open up the ice cream shop, he's very successful now. But like 2-5 to 11-5. Like, dude, Chad, man to man, you got my respect, buddy. But he might not get exposed. Like, you know, the Brandon Moreno quote, it might not be today, might not be tomorrow, it might not be a month from now, but one day. Look, Chad might not get exposed Saturday night. Chad might not get exposed the next fight, but Chad is going to get exposed. He is too small for the bantamweight division. He's got a smaller reach than and he not only does he have the smallest reach in the history of his weight class, he's got a smaller reach than all the ladies on the card. He's not an imposing guy. His takedown defense isn't the best, but he is a tough, gritty, and experienced guy, and that should be enough to carry him to victory should this fight get extended. Strader's got a chance early, but the longer this fight goes, I mean, Chad is so much more experienced. Can we please let Strader, like Strader, if you're listening or if your management's listening, come to the NFC, buddy. Like, we'll get you that seasoning. We'll get you that experience. Then go back to the UFC once you're ready.
Give him 2 or 3 fights.
He's not quite ready yet, man. So that's why I'm going with Chad. But no way in fucking hell I'm laying no minus 280 on a 5'4" guy with a 64-inch reach.
I couldn't agree more, Dan. And this is that spot. Everybody go ahead and mark your Clint bingo cards. On the Friday show, I might end up betting on Jesse Strader because of how massive he is. Like, I want to see these guys face off. I want to see them standing next to each other because Jesse Strader is not a small man. One thing I do want to make mention of, Chad Alhassan, all 5 of his losses are by sub. So I legitimately may be sprinkling Jesse Strader by submission, inside the distance, the way he wings those big hooks. Like, I think this is a violent spot. If you're backing the dog here, you've got a live dog that can absolutely finish. But like Dan said, Chad is definitely, the more well-rounded, crisper, cleaner fighter with better experience at this point. The best thing I think this is going to be for a betting perspective for me, again, is betting violence. Under 2.5, -125. Fight doesn't go the distance at -155. I got to think somebody goes down in this spot. We've seen Jesse Strader's chin cracked before. Chad's a banger. We've seen Chad subbed before. Jesse's, not that bad on the ground. I know he's more of a slang and bang type of guy, but with a hole in your game like that at 35, you can't expect it to get too much better. So I think there's opportunity for both guys to finish here.
And two things. The last time this man got submitted was 2014. That's almost, not quite, but almost a decade ago. And let me say one more thing. Do you by chance have a cousin in Canada named Craig McLean? Because
yeah, I saw that too.
Because he's got a knockout victory over him, and I'm wondering if you're trying to get vengeance or something.
I was about to look that guy up, man. Last night I saw that, and I was like, "Oh shit, who's Craig?" I got a long lost cousin that fights. Let's go.
Got to go to familyancestry.com or whatever and look up that family tree. Oh there shit, that's my third cousin twice removed.
That's no, it's the wrong continent though, man. The McLeans. I've got that Scottish blood running through me. There's a Castle, son. We got Castle McLean. I have actually it is a medal. I do have a medal somewhere in my closet from winning the fucking caber toss when I was a kid. So yeah, not expecting any brothers and sisters from the McLean clan up in Canada, but you never know. You never know. Next fight up, everybody. We have got a UFC staple, a fan favorite, Skelly, finally making his way back to the cage. Chaz is 18-3. His opponent, Mark Striegl, is also 18-3. And I love this fight, man. I cannot wait to talk to you about this fight. Chaz has been kept out of the octagon for 2 long years. It's been a very sad tale. He had multiple fights fall out, and then Jamahal Emmers pulls on his way to the cage. Like, I actually forgot that happened, Dan. And when I was like, why do I not remember this Emmers fight? I remember that I bet on Chaz Skelly. And I'm like, what happened? Like, why don't I remember the outcome here? I type it in. I'm on Fight Pass. I'm on ESPN Plus. And it goes straight from the octagon to Chaz with a headset on. And I was like, oh shit, this is the one where they totally like he was like passing out backstage right before the fight or something, so they had to pull it. Hate that for Chaz Skelly. High octane grappler, really fun guy to watch fight. He's a human backpack. He's always hunting for those chokes, looking for submissions. He kind of zombies his way forward. Another one of these guys that uses the clubbing strikes to close the distance and get the grappling going. But he accepts bottom position sometimes and plays off his back as well. Blocks punches with his face. Not necessarily the best technique sometimes. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. And he's bringing on Mark Striegl. Now, this guy made his UFC debut against Said Nurmagomedov. We know that's not a recipe for success. Said's a beast, but he gets TKO'd early in round 1, hasn't fought since. So you got to kind of wonder about the guy. But I mean, before coming to the UFC, he had that shiny 18-2 record. He just mauls people, bro. He's got so many subs. 14 of his 18 wins come by submission. He trains out of the MMA lab. He bounces back and forth between 135 and 145. Actually, he cut down to 135 for his UFC debut. Now it looks like he is headed back up. That's one of those things where, to me, you got to wonder what that took from him. Like, did he maybe not feel right? Did he maybe not take a shot the way he thought he could from Said because of the extra 10 pounds that came off? Not entirely sure, but he's competing back up at 145 and giving up just a little bit of size. This guy kind of blitzes his way forward. He's got big power elbows, straight punches, gets a hold of his opponents and just muscles them onto the ground. He's got solid wrestling, heavy top pressure. And then, like I said, he just kind of breaks people with that pressure and then forces them to give up submissions. And he dives on next, does everything with pure power. And then he slows down. He's got a little bit of quit in him. If he doesn't get you out of there early and in round 1, or if he can't immediately floor you again in round 2, he falls apart on the feet. He's been beaten by some Those 2 losses, those are not impressive losses. Those are not guys that we're going to be hearing about in a couple of years that got him. Like he has given up a couple of bad spots because he just completely runs himself into the ground trying to get the finish. So you've got Mark Striegl as a plus 180 underdog here. Chaz Skelly minus 220. And my concern is that Chaz potentially will be more than willing to play jiu-jitsu with this guy. He'll go to his back. He'll give up the takedown. He'll say, welcome on down to my world. And that's not going to look good. However, I can't trust Mark Striegl to last for 15 minutes. This seems like the perfect round 3 sprinkle spot for me, Dan. This seems like the spot where Chaz Skelly just being able to continue fighting is what eventually gets him back into this fight. Or better yet, for those of you who have access, live betting might be the spot here because Mark Striegl probably wins round 1. You know, he probably stays on top of Chaz and grinds out that first round wrestling. After that, you're going to get a better number on Chaz, and I bet you he probably comes back and gets the win.
What if I were to tell you that Mark Striegl has a win over a current top 10 UFC fighter, a finish win? Would you believe me?
I would. He's that kind of guy.
Good, because he actually choked out Kai Kara France back in the day. Now, Kai Kara France is a flyweight. This fight is at featherweight. Yes. And that's completely irrelevant. I just wanted to bring it up. Anyway, Kai
Kara France is much better today, by the way. That he's improved leaps and bounds the last couple of years.
It's 2 weight classes down, so it's
that too.
Oh, Kai Kara France lost to a featherweight. Oh my god! Like, yeah, it's no big deal. Anyways, back to this. So, I don't know if y'all know. I think this is Chaz Skelly's retirement fight, actually.
Oh shit! Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's been wanting to have that one last fight for a long ass time. It was supposed to be against Emmers, but you know, you remember what happened. Yeah. A back spasm on the walk or whatever the hell happened. We wish him the best. Anyways, so Chaz Skelly, what I feel bad about with Chaz Skelly is he was at one point on track to having the most submissions in featherweight history. Like he was about to break that record, but he just got sidelined with injuries. And he actually has some different records. He has the fastest submission in UFC, WFC, in UFC and WEC history in the featherweight division when he went out there against Maximo Blanco. And he had the record for the fastest consecutive wins in UFC history with 13 days between them. And I think Lupi Godinez beat that record in terms of appearances, but Lupi Godinez went 1-1. Chaz Skelly won both of his. So Chaz Skelly has the fastest consecutive wins in UFC history. And man, he had a chance to have the most subs in UFC history too. I mean, in featherweight history, but he got, you know, all those injuries, man. And so I'm actually more worried about, you know, Striegl like cracking him than I am about Striegl grinding him. Like, I think Chaz is a great wrestler, and his submission ability is very, very underrated. His Darce to Anaconda series, when he takes the back, sometimes he'll overexert himself, and as a result, with that grappling heavy style, you are going to fatigue. That's just how it works. You can't sit here and say, oh, Chaz has shitty cardio. It's not like Chaz ain't fucking training every day with these killers at his gym, you know, putting in the road work. It's more so that specific style requires a lot of energy. And unless you're, you know, Jacob Malkoun, Ronnie Lawrence, Bilal Muhammad, Merab Dawalish-Wheelie, those guys can implement that takedown after takedown after takedown style, whereas Chaz is more of an opportunistic submission finisher. And I actually do think Saturday night he's going to get an opportunistic submission finish and put the gloves down in the center of the octagon, have a beautiful speech, and, you know, drink a nice beer afterwards and look back at a great career. So, Chaz, tip my cap to you. And a great dude, too. Gotta love Chaz Skelly. It's too bad his Twitter got hacked. So if you want to reach him, you got to contact him on IG. But Chaz is a buddy of mine, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I think that he comes out here and submits Mark Striegl.
I feel you, man. It might be a little bit of a homer pick on your side, but I tend to agree, though. I just don't think that Striegl is gonna have what it takes to put a man like Chaz Skelly away. I mean, maybe he catches him with a big elbow in close or something, but I got to think once this thing starts to scramble, Mark Striegl's thing is submitting people. Chaz Skelly is not an easy man to submit. Most people don't win that battle on the floor with a guy the caliber of Chaz Skelly. So kind of a sketchy spot to me. Kind of like last week, we talked about it. I have a rule. I do not bet on retiring fighters. And, to touch on that Roxanne Modafferi fight last week, part of that is because you just don't know where their head is, man. Because Roxanne Modafferi grapples everybody. She takes people down. She tries to smother them. And she came out to bang for her retirement fight. She said, I'm going out to put on a show my last fight in the UFC. And I would not have bet on her if I knew she was going to box with Casey O'Neill for a full 15 minutes. So that's one of the reasons why I just try to avoid betting on those types of fighters. If Chaz Skelly really is hanging them up after this fight, I think he's fully deserving of that price tag. This is the kind of opponent that he can absolutely catch, but is he all the way dialed in? Is he going out for one last show? We don't know. Those are the kinds of things that you just don't know until they get there in the cage. So I definitely am far more tentative looking to place a bet on this fight, given knowing this is going to be his last fight. I might still do that, round 3 sprinkle, just because that's the way that Striegl tends to lose his fights. But I don't know that I'm going to have much investment on this one. I'm going to pick Skelly for the win, though. Next fight up, Diana Belbiţă taking on Gloria de Paula, and now we're getting into the good stuff. We were supposed to talk about Mario Bautista and Khalid Taha, but apparently Taha has pulled from that fight. He's got a new opponent, and it is not somebody that Dan or I is familiar with, unless I'm mistaken. Jay Perrin, is that right, Dan?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me see what the deal is with this kid, Jay Perrin. So he's fighting Mario Bautista, and dude, like, he literally got this fucking fight 5 minutes before showtime. So like,
yeah, we just found out.
here's what we can tell you about him as I'm looking at him. So he's fought in CES before, which is a decent promotion. He's fought in Cage Titans, actually fought on Contender Series, lost a decision at Dwight Joseph. I don't remember that fight at all. He's fought in Bellator, lost. So I mean, at least he's fought in some decent shows, and looks like most of his fights go to decision. He's got some submission finishes. That's about the extent I know.
And Dwight didn't get the call, by the way. He's not a guy that's been signed by the UFC yet either. So
sorry, who? I didn't hear what you said. Who?
The guy that he lost to on Contender Series did not get the UFC call.
Oh, right, yeah. So
just
obviously,
for people to note.
Obviously, he didn't impress. I don't want to talk too much, just because this fight got announced 2 minutes before showtime, and I haven't properly looked into it.
Yeah.
So but what I do know about Mario Bautista is that he's got the heart of a lion. He's a true Mexican warrior. He's going to come out here and he's going to swing some chingazos, if you know what I mean. I mean, this dude makes his UFC debut against Corey Sandhagen, has an awesome fight with Jinsu San, knocks out Miles Johns, was looking good against Trevin Jones until he got caught. So, I mean, he's been in there with some good guys. I expect him to win this fight.
I completely agree. I mean, he's probably going to be a big chalky favorite, and I can't argue it, man. Khalid Taha, his main thing is that he's durable as fuck. So, like, I thought that was going to be a bit of a banger until, I don't know if anybody was going to fall down. It probably would have been a 15-minute war, but definitely with this change of opponent, got to lean with Mario Bautista. So let's move on to talking about the ladies, since we do have a little bit to say about them. Diana Belbiţă is 14-6. Gloria de Paula is 5-4. Belbiţă, she snapped her 2-fight skid with a win over Hannah Goldie. That felt good. I did have a nice solid 2-unit bet on that one, because up until Goldie decided to train with my girl Jillian Robertson, we knew that game plan. She's starting to level up, but Diana got her before that happened. She's got a high work rate, man. Diana Belbiţă, light on her feet, always throws in combinations. She likes to finish those combos with a big kick. She's a nasty, bad intentions type of striker. She's got hard IQ, hard hands for the division, but she has IQ slips. She just totally gives her opponent her win condition sometimes. Like the fluky loss to Liana Jojua comes to mind, where she went to the ground with a fighter who is known for that armbar, gave her, she was piecing her up on the feet and decided to go ahead and grapple with her. you got to wonder sometimes with Diana Belbiţă. She's got that 1-inch reach advantage here in the spot. And Gloria Paula, last time we saw her, she's the one that got, soccer kicked by Cheyenne Vlismas now. She was buys back when the fight happened. But Gloria's light on her feet. She didn't really get too much opportunity to show off in that fight, but she's another solid striker. If you let this girl go on the feet, she swings heavy. She's got a really clean and crisp right hand. And honestly, I think she's going to get the kind of fight that she wants from someone like Diana Belbiţă. Gloria Paula is one of these women who you see on the tape constantly. Everyone wants to take her down. Nobody wants to stand with this girl. And I think Diana is going to oblige. So this low-key could be a banger on the prelims, Dan.
Dude, I agree with you. I kind of wish that Gloria de Paula was the underdog here, actually.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I get it. She's 0-2 in the UFC, and the 2 losses were big letdowns. But I actually think she's a lot better than she showed in those fights, man. Like, if you watch that Contender Series fight, I was pretty damn impressed. Like, I was actually like, damn, like this chick can make some impact. It's just, on the feet, that's where she really shines. It's just the takedown defense isn't there. Luckily, Diana Belbiţă is not known for coming out here and shooting takedowns. So I think that finally, win, lose, or draw, we're actually going to get to see Gloria de Paula have a solid, honest performance where we see what she's made of. Because that first fight against Jinh Yu Frey, listen, she got taken down, couldn't get back up in the first and third round. Maybe there were nerves with that debut, whatever. The fight with Cheyenne, I mean, just a badly timed get back up to the feet, got caught. Shit happens. I'm also very curious to see what would have happened had that fight played out. But here against Belbiţă, I get that Belbiţă on paper has more experience, which counts for a lot. It counts for a shit ton of a lot. But you got to understand that these wins are against fighters with 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 1-2, like also very inexperienced fighters. So here, I kind of see Diana Belbiţă giving Gloria de Paula the fight she wants. And I think Paula is going to come in here, as long as she's not just like completely shot of confidence because of what happened last time, which is a possibility, Clint. I mean, you get knocked out like that and you don't see head kick knockouts in strawweight? When was the last time you saw a head kick knockout of strawweight, Clint? Has there ever been one? Like,
I don't know. That's a great question.
Has there ever been one? Hey, someone in the chat, let me know if there's ever been a head kick knockout at strawweight besides Cheyenne Vlismas, formerly Baez, versus Gloria de Paula. But if this fight stays standing for 3 straight rounds, I think finally Gloria is going to show what I've wanted to see from her for a while. So I'm going to pick her here. But again, I don't like the favorite price, man. I'd rather take her. If she was the dog, I might take a small shot on her. At the slight favorite price, I'll pass. Give me Gloria de Paula to win a hard-fought, striking-based decision.
Man, you and I are just in lockstep on this one. This is a spot where I feel like you get that women's MMA record where she's 5-4, but it doesn't really tell you how good she is. Women's MMA, a lot of times they get to the higher level quicker because there's less competition. They're more effective on the regional scene, and there's just nobody to fight. The UFC needs them that much quicker. So I think she might have gotten here a little bit rushed. I think she's got a lot left to show, and she just ran into a buzzsaw, man, with Cheyenne buys. She took that head kick, and it was really the ground and pound afterward that finished her. She went for a takedown, she got mounted, and Cheyenne was able to pound her out. The ref stepped in, so it wasn't just the head kick that did the thing. Super impressive from Cheyenne, but also not necessarily something that you'll be able to recreate and expect to see constantly. So I totally agree. I think that she's going to have an opportunity to really show her full skill set here. And I mentioned the IQ there of Belbiţă. I think she will be more than happy to engage in a full-on fist fight with Gloria de Paula, and she'll have an opportunity to do what she needs to do. For those of you wondering at home, this is sitting at about -110 on either side, straight pick 'em. We had Gloria de Paula opened up about +125 in some places, even money in some spots, and the money has come in so far on de Paula driving this down, and I'm starting to see a -120 pop up. So she is ever so slightly creeping to be the favorite here in this spot. Looks like we lost Dan. I'm going to go ahead and see if he can get his video situation fixed up here. I think we might still have the audio, but I know the camera went down.
No.
Yeah, there we go.
I sent you a message in the private
Oh, I
chat.
see it. I see it. Gotcha. All right.
I've
Well,
been
anyway,
drinking,
man.
I've been drinking a lot of water.
There you go. There, doing Dustin Poirier proud. Stay hydrated. I think you're totally right. I just think that basically we've got Belbiţă who's going to give Gloria to Paula the exact type of fight that she can shine in, you know? And I'm curious.
Sorry to cut you off. Someone said, I don't know if you addressed this while I went to the restroom, but someone said Rose versus Wiley. There's a head kick knockout. So it's not just
there you go.
It's not just Baez versus Paula. So hey, Sean, great call, buddy.
There you go. There you go. And so Dan, I want to know kind of what your cutoff here on this one is, because it looks like BetMGM, I think, still has a plus 105 out there. I'd have to refresh the feed and see if that's accurate. It's about minus 110 across the board. I see one minus 120. Is this thing for our viewers worth taking a poke at that pick'em minus 110, or do you want that plus next to it before you pull the trigger?
No, I would only take De Paula at plus money, nothing else.
I hear you. This is one that, man, I'm trying to be better. The degenerate in me wants to just go ahead and hammer this thing, even at the favorite line. But the fact of the matter is, it's a coin flip. We are speculating. I think that Gloria de Paula wins this fight. I think she's got the tools to go ahead and do it. You know, we're really going to find out if her confidence is shot or not, if she's legit or not on Saturday. So I can sit back and learn. I don't have to have my money on it to learn the lesson, but I am itching. I want to bet Gloria de Paula, but I got the same thought, man. I wish we were getting a little bit of a better price tag. All right, and we are getting down to the nitty-gritty here, folks. Just a couple fights left to talk about. Next one up, another ladies fight. Jessica Rose Clark taking on Stephanie Egger in a spot that I'm really struggling with here. Probably going to end up being another pass here for me, just because, honestly, I think I have to, man. So Stephanie Egger, I said some awful things about Stephanie Egger in her last fight. I just have to come, right out and say it. I was rushing to the window to bet against her in her last fight. She did not seem that impressive to me. And I really thought that an opponent, someone like Shanna Young, was going to be able to get the grappling going, really cause a problem for her, stifle the offense, get her to the floor where that reach isn't going to matter quite so much. And she came out and she did the damn thing. She shut me up bad in that spot. And now I've got that impulse, that gambler's impulse to go, you know what? I had this girl wrong. Now I need to get behind her. Stephanie Egger's coming in here against Jessica Rose Clark, 11-6. She's 4-2 on her UFC run, man. Physically strong, bullies her opponents up against the fence. Good, strong body lock. Really shows off that strength lately, something that she's been focused on and working on. And she just smothers her opponents with that ground game. Good takedown defense. She's got those aggressive Travis Brown elbows when her opponents try to flip the script and take her down. She crashes the pocket, but honestly, she's not that great at range. And I worry sometimes that she doesn't really have much of a plan B. If the grappling's not going her way, she doesn't really have anything to shift to. Stephanie Egger, she's got that judo. That can cause problems for wrestling, especially with the women sometimes, the hip tosses, the throws. She's tall, she's long, and her striking looked like it had come a long way in that last fight. She was far more impressive at range than I expected. Good long jab, hard 1-2 down the pipe, and really good use of the under overhooks to control her opponent's posture. Nice trips, good throws, and then nasty elbows in the ground and pound, man. Maybe that was a bit of an early stoppage, but she had her opponent hurt last time with those elbows, got the TKO. She's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here, and she is sitting as a nice, juicy little underdog here in this spot. We have got, if I could find it, Jessica Rose Clark is a minus 190 favorite, minus 200, and you can get Stephanie Egger about plus 160 at this point. A little bit of money has come in on Egger. Actually, no, sorry about that. It looks like a little bit of money has come in on Jessica Rose Clark, and the buyback is just happening a little bit here on Egger, keeping the line close. So again, it's a spot where I absolutely think that I should be backing Egger because she won last time, but then I go, okay, pump the brakes. No recency bias here. Stop that. Jessica Rose Clark is basically a better version of Shanna Young, or at least a more polished version of Shanna Young at this point in her career. And she's physically stronger than Shanna Young. So if I felt that Shanna Young was going to beat Egger just a month or two ago, I probably should not be rushing to bet Stephanie Egger here as an underdog price tag. So I think I'm going to pick Jessica Rose Clark to win this fight, Dan, but I don't know how comfortable I am on that. How do you feel about this fight, and how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I think that Jessica Rose Clark is really starting to hit her stride right now, man. I mean, she had that last loss to Kianzad in 2019, and she took close to a year off, got her body right. I think had a couple procedures done, has been getting really locked in with her coaches, has a new strength and conditioning program. And as a result, now she's on a 2-fight win streak, and she's been dominant in both of those fights. I mean, that Sarah Alpar fight was an ass whooping. And I get it, Alpar might not be of the caliber, but to Alpar's credit, I mean, she fought 2 studs, Clark and Aaron Blanchfield. Like, so what'd you think was going to happen, right? But like, still, to come back from a 2-fight skid, a near year layoff, and to come back the way she did, at least she's got to have some confidence. And then the next fight took care of Jocelyn Edwards, and Jocelyn Edwards is more so known for her striking, and Jessica Rose Clark, she was able to go out there and actually land 5 takedowns in that fight, which is showing some evolution in her game. Whereas here against the credentialed judo player and Stephanie Egger, it's going to be opposite of that. She's going to try to keep this fight standing and piece her up. And I actually think she's going to have success doing that, man. So yeah, while I'm not necessarily in any kind of rush to lay -190, I'm also not tempted to take the shot on the dog. My pick is Jessica Rose Clark via unanimous decision.
Yep, I'm there with you, Dan. Like I said, I caught myself with that recency bias, and this is one of those ones where I am not going to look back and say, damn, I should have bet Egger if she pulls it off, because I'm catching myself. I think JRC is the right side. I think she probably used that strength. She uses that size. She just grinds her way to a win in close. And then, like you mentioned, I think there's a chance that she can outstrike her, outpoint fighter. And she hits hard too, man. She is hitting tough these days. You can't count out a finish the way these 2 girls fight, if I'm being honest. So this one should be fun. Next fight up. Oh, can't wait. This is the one everybody wants to talk about. And I'm not sure why it's this far down the card. I wouldn't be shocked if it gets moved up a little bit, because I feel like this one should be closing out the prelims or something instead of starting off the card here. We got Gabriel Mowgli Benítez taking on David Onama. And you guys remember, or at least you should remember, David Onama. He came in like a bat out of hell. Holy crap. Gloria MMA, stand up. He had his debut against Mason Jones, and he was counted out by everybody as a short notice step in against a guy like Mason Jones that we're all super high on. And he gave Jones one hell of a fight. He got hurt early in that fight, showed he's got the heart to stay in it, dug deep, and fought his ass off. Had Jones hurt several times. I like Onama's hard cross that he has. He's strong in the clinch. He's got those big power elbows and knees, and he doesn't stop. I love this kid's gas tank. He showed an ability to scramble and wrestle with someone the caliber of Mason Jones. Jeez, Mason and Jones apparently makes Jason when I get in a little run here. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, but they are throwing him straight into the deep end. I mean, I know he started that way against Mason Jones, but they're lining him up. They're giving him Mowgli Benítez, 22-9, and he's coming off a rough outing against Billy Q. That was a spot where I know my man Billy Q. I cashed a nice ticket in on that one. He got dropped early in round 1, and then Billy just poured it on him until he broke. And that's really kind of Gabriel Benítez's thing. He's got those leg kicks. He's a good striker if you're going to play with him on the feet, but he's got a bad gas tank. And if you force this man to wrestle, he just fades. He's breakable, and he can't handle pressure. He's not the same man on the back foot. And I think that's kind of the key in this spot, is that if Onama does not take a step backwards, if he makes sure to come forward in this fight, that's where we've seen Benítez have a hard time, is when opponents just kind of take what he's got and stay right in his face. And his only wins are over less than UFC caliber competition. Everyone's been super high on Benítez, but he really has only beaten guys that kind of don't belong here. We're looking at the line, though, and we've got Gabriel Benítez. I mean, this thing opened with Gabriel Benítez being a slight favorite. I mean, just barely. And then money has flooded in on David Onama. He's sitting about -150, -160 in places right now. You can get +130, +135-ish on the underdog, Gabriel Benítez. And I know you got to play on this one, Dan, so I really want to hear your thoughts here. Go right ahead.
Yeah, look, Uganda, stand up. I got a bet on David Onama here. I'm going to tell you exactly why. Firstly, let me start this off by talking about the kind of respect I have for Gabriel Mowgli Benítez. I mean, Gabriel cashed a plus 150 for me against Sam Cecilia back in the day. Gabriel cashed a max bet at minus 120 against Humberto Bandenet a few years back. Then I've also gone out there and faded him against Omar Morales and Sodiq Yusuff. So look, with Gabriel Benítez, I mean, it's been the same story throughout his career. I mean, you guys have all heard the story a million times about how at AKA, this guy's got the hardest kick. And I mean, you already know about that body kick, those leg kicks from the southpaw stance. Don't sleep on his hands too. They come straight down the pipe. Mowgli is a true Mexican warrior. He's not a guy that's going to quit. He's not a guy that's going to give up. He's a guy that's going to be there. So just, I love watching Mowgli. I mean, I've been watching Mowgli since what, 2014? Like, dude's a stud. So I'm a big fan. So the question people have is like, how could you bet such an inexperienced fighter against someone like Mowgli, who's, you know, had goddamn over 30 fights? Okay, well, let me answer a couple questions for you. Firstly, and I'm going to break down the stylistic part in a sec, but first I want to address the experience thing. When I bet on Sodiq Yusuff against Gabriel, Sodiq was only 9-1 at the time. When I bet on Omar Morales against Gabriel, Omar Morales was only 9-0 at the time. So that's already two examples of inexperienced guys going out there and beating him. A 9-0 and a 9-1, and now I got an 8-1. So, like, I'm not wiki capping. I'm not basing it off the records. All I'm just saying is that inexperienced guys have beat him before. So this whole Gabriel giving him a vet lesson thing, I don't think that's going to happen. And the reason why is this: Gabriel loves to back up and throw those devastating kicks. And there's one thing about this guy, Onama. I mean, man, there's something different about that African power, man. I mean, like, and it's not a thing where, look, he's just a great athlete that hits hard. You see the kind of heart this guy has. You see the kind of work rate this guy has. I mean, Mason Jones is a black belt. Mason Jones took his back. Usually when Mason Jones takes people's backs, the fights are going to be over shortly after. Oh, shit, my camera just went out. Let me plug in my other camera. Give me 1 second.
You're good. Gotta love the live technical difficulties. We got 225 viewers with us. Thank you all so much for sticking with us here. Make sure you smash that like button. And if you haven't had enough UFC action, as soon as me and Dan wrap up, you're going to have Stat Diggers coming up here. My guy Wheezy and DFS, they're going to be getting started. In fact, they may have already started. I don't know. So once this show's over, make sure you guys jump over and support them. Hit it, Dan.
All right. So, yeah, sorry, guys. This is my backup cam. So I apologize for the angles. I'm not much of a cameraman. I'm doing my best. All right. But what I was getting at, what was the last thing I said? I know I talked about the experience part. Oh, yeah. So Mowgli fires off those big kicks. Okay. So it's not just that David Onama is, you know, this superior athlete and this and that. This guy's got the heart of a lion. Mason Jones took his back, and this dude, and Mason Jones is a black belt, by the way. This dude Onama is out here reversing position and getting on top, and he took that fight on 4 days' notice, man. So he was literally fighting for 15 straight minutes off all heart. So now with a full camp, down a weight class, down at 145 pounds, where he belongs, I mean, I expect to see a much better performance, and the blueprint's been laid out. To beat Mowgli, I mean, we're not going to stand at range and you throw a kick, I throw a kick. No, just go out there and take this dude's head off. Walk him down like Sodiq Yusuff did. Show him no respect like Omar Morales did. Like, oh, and then the Billy Q fight. Let's talk about the Billy Q fight for a second. So Billy Q, and firstly, check out my interview with Billy Q. He was on Half the Battle last week. Super fucking cool guy. What an awesome badass. And the thing we love about Billy Q is that he's not known for being the best athlete. He's just known for being such a relentless dog that just pushes the pace start to finish. Now, imagine a relentless dog that pushes the pace start to finish, but he happened to be born in Uganda and also has the athletic and the physical traits. So, because a lot of people, when they hear me talk about, oh, this guy's a great athlete, they feel like I'm discrediting his hard work or his mental or this or that. This guy, like I said, this guy's not just a great athlete. This guy's got the heart of a champion. This guy thinks when he's out there. This guy was willing to fight to the bitter end. Now he's in the right weight class. And Gabriel coming off that last fight, if you watch that Billy Q fight and you want to put money on Gabriel after that, like, that was a hellacious ass whooping, and it was a clear sign of the decline of Gabriel Benítez. I love Mowgli. Like I told y'all already about how I cashed that plus 150 against Cecilia, the max bet against Bandonai. Like I ain't no Gabriel hater. Gabriel's got my respect. He's a true Mexican warrior. I love the guy. It's just that he gets dropped in a ton of fights, and the way that Billy Q whooped his ass, like those are the kind of fights you don't come back the same from. And then Gabriel's constantly dealing with injuries. He's pulling out of fights. He's having weight issues. Everything screams to me that Gabriel, while he had an amazing run and he's going to be a decent litmus test for this kid, he's seen better days, and I don't see Onama going 0-2 in the UFC. So I think Onama is going to come out here, walk down the very tough Mexican warrior, Gabriel Benítez, eat a body kick or two, eat a leg kick or two. And let me say something else, because, you know, the kicks are the big thing here. So on this kid, Onama's regional scene, at the beginning part of his regional scene, he was actually getting caught with a lot of leg kicks, but he made adjustments. He actually ends up winning a fight via checking a dude's kick and injuring him. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. So we're actually, see, because one thing I like to talk about on my show, Half the Battle, is these kids with 10 or less pro fights, you're going to see these huge leaps every single time they fight. So if you thought that 4-day notice appearance against Mason Jones was impressive, up a weight class, wait till you see what this kid does on a full camp at his normal weight class against a declining fighter. Mason Jones is a young, hungry stud. Now, I'm going to say something controversial, but I need you to listen very closely to what I'm saying. Mason Jones is 3-1 in the UFC. Wait, what do you mean? But he's 1-1 in the UFC. Nah. Mason Jones is 3-1. Listen to me for a second. So he lost to Mike Davis, okay, 0-1. The Alan Patrick fight was somehow called a no contest when Alan quit. Okay, now we're 1-1. Alan Patrick was scheduled the second time. Alan pulls out on fight week on the streets. That's considered a victory. Now he's 2-1. And then he beat this stud Onama, so that makes him 3-1. So yeah, it might say that Mason Jones is 1-1, 0-1. To me, he's 3-1. So look out for Mason Jones. That kid is a serious prospect at 155. Now we're talking about 45. I think that this African savage from Uganda is going to come out here and knock out Gabriel Benítez. And also, I know that talk is noise and talk is cheap and all that. But I was curious to hear Onama's game plan, because if Onama was thinking like, you know, let's see who the harder kicker is, or, you know, if he was saying some dumb shit like that, like, then I'd be like, dude, like, come on. He said exactly what I wanted to hear. He said, I'm going to take Mowgli's head off. Perfect. Say less. That means he's coming in here with the right approach. And also, I've been talking about Mowgli's chin, how he's been dropped multiple times, how he's been getting hurt a lot in fights. Have we mentioned his takedown defense yet? Mowgli,
we have not.
He gets taken down a lot of times in fights. So if David Onama feels like, hey man, I want to bust him up on the feet, I want to, you know, show off that I'm a well-rounded fighter too, mixing some entries to my takedowns, the takedown's going to be there too. So yeah, I get it.
Gloria MMA, you know, James Krause always has the grappling sharp for these boys.
Like, I get it that, like, he's 0-1 in the UFC. He's green. He's 8-1 as a pro. Gabriel's got, you know, more than 3 times the experience as him. I get all that. But it's about where they're at in their respective careers, and it's about how they match up stylistically. And I think that, like you said, Gabriel does not like being pressured. Onama's going to pressure him, and Onama's going to pressure him with some big bombs. It might not be, you know, if you go to a boxing gym, it might not be the prettiest strikes. It doesn't have to be the prettiest strikes when you're dealing with the kind of horsepower that a kid like David Onama is. So the bottom line is, I think David Onama is going to come out here and knock out Gabriel Benítez, period. So as a result, since I feel that way, I put a bet on Onama. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Dan, I like it. I was extremely confident in my Billy Q bet. That was one of my favorite spots. I think thank you. I am almost the opposite of you, where you gave all your respect and stuff like that to this kid Benítez. I've been a non-believer. I've been looking for and waiting for opportunities to fade him. Now, I made a mistake once or twice, pulled the trigger the wrong way a couple times, but I kind of hit my groove more often than not here. And that Billy Q spot was one I'm proud of. I think that you're nail on the head right here. I absolutely think that Onama can replicate that type of offense. We talked about the takedown defense. We talked about Gloria MMA and kickboxing. And I just have not thought so highly of Benítez from the jump. Now, maybe I'm wrong. You know, he is very fresh, very new, very young, but I think this kid is a star in the making. Absolutely. Mr. X in the chat disagreeing here with us a little bit, saying if you like Onama, wait until Thursday, Friday. The sharps come in on Benítez at plus 140. Maybe they do.
What sharps are those that you're referring to?
Yeah, I would love to hear, actually, if you do know sharps. But hey, you know, maybe they do. We've already seen a little bit of buyback in a couple spots on Benítez. They pushed it back down to plus 130. He was up to plus 135 or so. So I do think this line will fight back and forth just a little bit. And that was one thing that kind of made me pause, Dan. I wanted to talk it through with you before I actually made the bet, because I was looking at David Onama myself, but this line did open up at a pick'em. And we did get some pushback. Now that Onama reached about minus 160 or so, the line has pushed back the other direction. And it's just one of those spots where I want to make sure I'm not diving in feet first when the whole world is on the same kid because we saw him have a good UFC debut. But at the end of the day, I think you're right. I think he's legit.
No, I mean, yeah, it's like I said, it's sketchy in the sense that he's 0-1 and he's fighting a guy that's been in the UFC for close to a decade. Like that, I get that part. Like, but I mean, wasn't that like the case when Michael Morales fought Trevin Giles too? Like you got to catch these guys at the right time. Like when Bahamondes fought Makdessi was like coming off a nice layoff, had time to, you know, freshen up a little bit. Whereas Giles was coming off a brutal knockout against Clintus Duplessis. Drickus Duplessis, that's my boy Clinton right here. So you take advantage. Whereas Mowgli's coming off, like, dude, did you see that Billy Q fight? Like, if you rewatch that Billy Q fight's uncomfortable at times. Like,
well, he got hurt in the first round. Billy just never let up. He was getting his ass whipped from bell to bell.
When Billy Q is dropping you and just taking you to school like that, and Billy Q is a great fighter. I'm, you know, I would never take anything away from him. I love Billy Q. Check out my interview with him on Half the Battle. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, we're dealing with a different athlete here. We're dealing with a different kind of power here.
Billy's not a power guy.
Yeah, he's not a power guy, but he still dropped him, right? Exactly. Now we are dealing with. So listen, I ride with my African fighters. I ride with my Russian fighters. I mean, like I said, you know, there's some exceptions to the rules. You know, you're not going to bet on Oluwale Bangbose or on Gadzi and Tigulov, but for the most part, this angle works. And I think it's going to work Saturday night. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong many times again. That's how this game goes. But I like this spot, and if I like it, I'm playing it. So let's go, Onama. Let's get this dub.
I hear you, Dan. I may be jumping in there with you on that one as well. Haven't moved yet, but especially if it's buying back and I'm going to get, you know, 150 instead of 175, I like that a little better. Last fight on the card, everybody. We almost got there. JSP, Jonathan Pearce, taking on Christian Rodriguez, kicking off the night. And I can just get this right out of the way, Dan. I love JSP. This is one of my kids. He's a fight-ready boy, and y'all know how I feel about fight-ready. He is an absolute monster. He made his UFC debut against Joe Lozon, got caught in a weird position and lost that fight. And since then, he's looked like a beast. He's got a big win over Omar Morales in his last fight, a spot people called me crazy for betting against Morales on. He was supposed to fight Lingo in this spot, and that was going to be one hell of a fight before Lingo unfortunately had to withdraw. But he keeps a high work rate. He is super tall, super long, very durable. He's a chain grappler. He's got great cardio, breaks people with pace. You know, 6.79 significant strikes per minute, 7 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 57% accuracy. I mean, he's basically an OV. Like, you can throw the OV at the end of this kid's name the way he grapples. Christian Rodriguez, 7-0, undefeated, popping in here on short notice. He won in his fight back on January 15th, actually. So quick turnaround for him. But he fought a guy that was 19-37. Got him out of there in round one. You know, not sure we can be overly impressed, but the 7-0 undefeated record, you got to say something a little bit for that. He's definitely staying active, taking his chance here, jumping in feet first in the UFC. He's got good balance, good wrestling defense, but he stands tall and he walks forward. He's got tasty hands, man. If I'm being honest, this kid, Christian Rodriguez, is got some slick boxing on him, strikes and combos. He likes to attack with short elbows when he gets in tight, and he mixes up his attacks to the body. He's fought both 135 and 145, so it's not like he's coming in on short notice up at 145, and it's going to be a disadvantage. He's been there before. I actually think Christian Rodriguez is probably a guy that we'd want to see on Contender Series again. I think he went through once already, but give him a shot, bring him in slow. I think Jonathan Pearce is probably just a little bit too much for this kid to handle. He's shown that he can stuff takedowns and keep the fight on the feet where he wants it, but he's at the mercy of a cardio king and a very durable fighter in Pearce. I know Christian Rodriguez has got good hands, but I don't think he's got the type of power it's going to take to shut off Pearce in this spot. And I don't know, even with his good counter wrestling, that he'll be able to deal with the takedown offense that comes from a guy like Pearce training with Cejudo over there at Fight Ready. Get ready for JSP, minus 750 in this type of spot. I think he's a big favorite. I think he's deserving. I think he rolls. He's only minus 330, not minus 750. A little bit off on my line there, but I think he's a deserving favorite and he should win this fight.
Actually, dude, I was surprisingly impressed with Christian Rodriguez. Yeah. I don't know if a lot of y'all know, the only reason he didn't get signed on Contender Series was because he missed weight, but his performance was super impressive. Like, I was like, God damn, like he went in there against Tracy Cortez's brother, who I don't know his wrestling credentials, but that whole family is a wrestling family. Dude was stuffing the takedowns, lighting him up, nice jabs, straight punches, mixing in his kicks, like knees. I like this kid, Christian Rodriguez, a lot. And my only concern is the size difference. I mean, we're dealing with a 6 foot tall featherweight in JSB versus, a 5'7" bantamweight. Now, the 5'7" bantamweight actually has the same reach as JSB, interestingly enough. And I would even go as far as saying this dude's got cleaner hands than JSB. If JSB decides not to wrestle, which I hope, if you take the underdog shot on Christian might actually come out here and get this upset. Like, when I tell you that this kid is actually no slouch at all, like, and deserves to be here, I mean it. Like, when I watched him, I was very, very impressed. And so he trains at Rufus Sport. And so I hit up Bilal Muhammad because, I mean, the big question was like, is he in shape? Like, because, taking a fight on a couple days notice. So I hit up Bilal. This is what he said. I texted him. I said, hey, do you know anything about this kid Christian Rodriguez from Rufus Sport fighting JSP in the UFC this weekend? And Bilal said, he's a beast. He's really good everywhere. But here's the important part, because everyone's going to say their training partner or friend is good everywhere. But this is the important part. Excuse me. He said he was training for another fight, so he's already in shape. And he also said he's not small or weak, so he doesn't think it matters for the weight class. So according to Bilal, this kid's in pretty damn good shape already because he was training for a different fight. So that makes me happy that at least, like, he's not going to come out here, with a Jared Vandera gut. And Jared had a full cam and still came in with a gut. At least this kid's going to come in here in shape. So I'm happy about that.
Don't talk to me about Jared Vandera.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, just the thing I'm worried about is just, a kid like JSP getting on top of Christian, that's what I'm worried about, man.
I just think that's going to be the difference maker, man. I think it's the grappling.
Well, it might be. I mean, if this dude, this dude's minus 330 or whatever. Like, okay, so I'm not laying minus 330 because I actually think that Christian's a better striker than JSB, and I actually think that if they go out there and they stand and bang, that Christian's got a chance to either outpoint him or knock him out. So for that reason, I actually think the line should be a little bit closer. It's just about, these guys like Kai Kamaka, he got off to a great start. He gassed out badly. Omar Morales, my boy Omar's 36 years old, right? So now these are way bigger guys than Christian. So yeah, I'm just worried about the grappling. That's all I'm worried about. But if I know for a fact that these two are going to strike, I'm taking those dog odds on Christian, man. I really think that he's very good. Like I said, guys, the only reason he didn't get signed that night was because he missed weight. Dana was impressed. We were all impressed. We were like, God damn, that's a UFC level fighter right there. So yeah, he went back to the regional scene, finished some bum in the first round like you're supposed to, and now he's back. So yeah, the pure pick is JSP, but there's a chance I might take a half unit or a 1 unit shot on Christian because I actually was surprisingly impressed with him, and he's got the heart, he's got the skills, he's solid. I'm just worried about the size difference.
I hear you. All right, fair enough, Dan. I mean, I'm picking JSP at that line. I'm probably not betting him. I do think he's deserving of being a big favorite because he's one of these guys. He's and to quote my formerly my dude Z's MMA, he's a good soldier. He's a good soldier. You know he's gonna grapple. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I've ever had a JSP fight where you go, he's just gonna come out and strike for 15 minutes because he feels like he's gonna grapple. So I think because we can bank on that. I expect him to have that grappling edge and probably will win some kind of a decision here. But Christian Rodriguez will be back, and I think he'll be somebody we potentially can bet on his next time around and probably make some sneaky cash on him because if he doesn't look good here, if he gets body locked and dragged around the cage for 15 minutes by JSP, we might get another nice juicy plus line with a better matchup on somebody like Christian Rodriguez in his next fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally like one of the possible scenarios where, like, the kid loses, but like he shows his heart, shows his toughness, and everybody wants to see him again. Like Onama last time. Yeah, he might have lost, but like I was telling Billy Q on Half the Battle last week because he was really down about his loss to Shane Burgos, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, that's like one of the best fights I've ever seen. Not all wins and losses are created equally. You can go out that now from a betting perspective, it's different, but I'm just saying, like, from entertainment and being a fan, like, you can go out there and lay on someone for 3 straight rounds, get the dub, and no one ever wants to see you fight again. Or you can be like Billy Q, lose that fight to Shane Burgos, and everyone can't wait for your next fight. So I could see it being that situation where Christian comes out here, just fights his heart out, and everyone can't wait for that next fight. But if for whatever reason JSP is cocky because he's so much taller than this guy, maybe now he wants to establish his jab, maybe now he wants to, he's coming off 2 wins in the UFC, he's feeling himself a little bit. I mean, he's been finished before, so I'm just saying, if they strike, don't sleep on Christian. But I'm so worried about JSP getting on top of him. But again, it's not like one takedown and the fight is over shortly after. I mean, this kid Christian is well-rounded. I've seen him get back up. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's not like, this isn't, Melvin Gillard where, something that's halfway locked in, he's going to tap the mat. Like, this kid is a Mexican warrior. He's going to try to fight his ass off, and he's young and fresh. So yeah, obviously the pure pick is JSP, but I am considering that half unit or 1 unit shot on Christian, and let's see what happens.
I hear you. All right. Well, folks, that is it. That's UFC Vegas 49. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We had over 200 live viewers for the majority of the show. Do us a favor, smash that like button on your way out. Give my guy Dan a follow at Half the Battle. Dan, now's your moment, man. Tell these people where they can find you and what you got going on.
Well, firstly, Clint, it's always a pleasure being on here with you, man. Really happy to see your success, and I hope that you keep taking this thing all the way to the top. You deserve it. And yeah, it's just, I'm proud to call you my friend. So thank you for having me. And for all the fans listening, thank you guys too, man. Like, whether you agreed with our takes or disagreed, that's what this sport is all about. I mean, let's just have some fun and enjoy these fights, cash some bets. And if you're interested in checking me out, on Twitter at Best Fight Picks, and then my show is called Half the Battle. Half the Battle is available everywhere podcasts are found. On Tuesdays, I got Dan's Tuesday Night Contender, where I go live with a UFC fighter every single Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Until Contender Series comes back. I mean, Contender Series isn't happening now, so I thought, hey, why don't I give y'all something to watch Tuesday night? So watch me, and it's live. The difference between these interviews and other interviews is other interviews are either pre-recorded, which there's no fan interaction in that. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that this is what separates me. There's no fan interaction there. And then my boy Ariel Hawani is amazing, great at what he does, but there's no fan interaction there either. With mine, it's live, and the fans get to interact and ask the fighters any questions they want. So come hang out with me Tuesday nights, and then Thursday mornings at 10:30 a.m. I break down the card start to finish, give our bets, our picks, our predictions with my co-host Shaq. So the show is Half the Battle, and it's available everywhere podcasts are found. I truly appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much, and let's cash these bets, gentlemen.
I love it. I love it. Thank you all so much again for hanging out with us tonight. Definitely picking myself up off the floor after last week. So hit me up on Twitter at DieHardMMAPod or over on Instagram for where I lock in my official picks and bets at this point. I actually haven't made anything official from a betting perspective yet from this card, but we found a couple pretty good spots here, I think, talking through the card tonight. So I plan on locking a few plays in sooner than later. Everybody go out there. Take your significant others out to eat. swipe left a couple times or swipe right a couple times. If you don't have one yet, you'll find somebody out there. Go have a good time. Stay safe on Valentine's Day. Don't eat too much because there's going to be discount Reese's tomorrow. They go on half sale because everybody's over the chocolate after Valentine's Day. That's when you pounce. That's when you scoop those goodies. Everybody have a wonderful week. Make sure you tune in right here for DFS and Wheezy Stack Diggers coming up next on Pub Sports Radio. Let's roll.